Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to OPC Season 2. I'm AVRL, joined with me tonight, Pixie, as we're about to head into match number 2. It's going to be AHQ taking on Mega Thunder.
It's the first we've seen from AHQ this week as well. They're currently sitting 2-1 in the standings. Here, of course, is the AHQ lineup. We'll get a more detailed look at them in a moment, but like you said, they're going to be coming up against the mega-sized roster of Mega Thunder, who themselves have actually just had an extra change to that roster this week.
Yeah, Mega in all ways of it, right? Their logo is an elephant. They've got a big roster. Everything about this team is just big. Big names as well. You've got guys from contenders. You've got the best team in Thailand. I mean, a lot to look forward to here, but at the same time, the only thing that's not big about this roster and this lineup is so far their scoreline. And it's unfortunately big on the other way, right? Because I believe it's 1-3. So they haven't had the best start so far into this tournament. Before we do get into this, we're going to have a few words from both sides.
最近是拳王的 meta 刚开始啊，那其实各队在第一轮的交手其实都在试水温，因为其实全部队伍都还在适应拳王跟就是
I feel like the meta is quite new.
那我觉得
Teams are still trying things out.
之前影片也看过Oputo的拳王其实还蛮厉害的。
And
那
Aputo's got a
今
good
天也
Doomfist.
准备了不少拳王阵型。
I feel like we've actually prepared Doomfist
我感觉
for
可以
tonight.
好好期待一下。那来 Oputo
For me, AHQ is good team, and I want to beat them. And the last thing, 我爱大吉啊。
他刚才在赛前叫我教他一些中文，我就教，马上现用。他说，HQ 是一个非常强的队伍，然后他会尽力去，他好像说 hit 吧，他会尽力去干掉他们的意思啦。那等一下呢，比赛就要开始了嘛，就把画面交给我们的主播赛评。
So there it is, Coach Nito from AHQ and Aputo from Mega Thunder. The interesting thing there is, despite Aputo doing Aputo things, is actually what Coach Nito said, and that is the Doomfist, because we haven't seen any Doomfist out of AHQ. In the interviews we've heard of AHQ so far, what they've been saying is, look, we don't know who's going to play yet. Could be Rapid, could be Dizzy. I'm thinking it's probably Dizzy. It's most likely going to be Dizzy, but they hadn't shown it at all whatsoever, and now we're into the end of week 2, past the halfway mark of the second round robin. AHQ are this middle of the line kind of pack right now, and they need to start showing what they want to do about this new meta.
So here's the thing as well, AHQ, they're 2-1. Those 2 wins are against some of the teams that are struggling for wins right now. So, and the loss, by the way, is against their current rivals, Flash Wolves. So that lack of Doomfist has actually affected them a little bit, but it hasn't been reflected much in the standings yet. I think this is, I mean, really, it's technically a week late to be picking up the Doomfist, but better late than never, right? Because from here on out, I think the lack of Doomfist would have started to get reflecting in the standings. So, yeah, this is going to be the first we're seeing of it. They're obviously going to have put a lot of work into it, and I think they really need to. Nito said it himself. Aputo's Doomfist is phenomenal, and AHQ have kind of struggled on their front. Let's really hope that AHQ can actually hit that same mark that Aputo does. And this is going to be the lineup coming out tonight for AHQ. Eric and Hihi, Rapid, Dizzy, Keres, and Crappy. And Mega Thunder are going to be pulling out Elk, Graceful, Moffat, Aputo, Titawat, and White. So sticking with this line up once again, Moffat, Aputo will be the DPS duo for Mega tonight.
And don't forget, White is the new player now joining Mega Thunder. So Mega Thunder is kind of doing the opposite of what AHQ was last season. AHQ had the big roster last season. They had 7, I think, maybe even 8 players on that. Now they've sort of removed 2 of the members, or rather 2 of the members have left. Rapid has gone into the place as that solid Tracer DPS player. Maybe we see him on the McCree as well. In fact, if we do see McCree and Doomfist together, maybe Dizzy plays a McCree because we know he's got a good McCree, and actually then it would make sense for a guy like Rapid to play the Doomfist as well. So the fact that we don't know this also says that Mega might not know this either. So the fact that we've also said a week late for them to be now coming into the meta in a serious way, they actually have an advantage there because it may just be a little bit difficult to read exactly what they're going to do. Yeah,
that will be a factor here. The other side of that, though, is, of course, we don't know, and it sounds like actually AHQ weren't really sure either. They were sort of like, we don't really know which DPS is going to fit onto this most naturally, how we are going how we are going to build our team around having the Doomfist on it, who's going to play what and when and why. And I think one thing that's happened, because we're seeing a little bit more of what specific DPS duos in terms of hero picks exist right now, I think now AHQ will have a better idea of how Doomfist can fit into their team. And by the way, Hihi is a returning member. That was formerly Lazy Titan, was his name last season. So that's the same guy, but here we are. Brand new player on Mega to kick it off is White, and also their late Season 1 entrant in Titawat V3, formerly Titawat V2.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah.
2016, he was V2.
So next year,
2018, I'm expecting V4.
V4. And I'll be disappointed if he's not. And of course here, Aputo, bit of a fan favorite among other things, because he is a pretty superstar player.
In and out of the game.
Yeah, and interesting to note that the Doomfist isn't included on there, but here's Moffat, he plays Tracer.
Yep. He plays Tracer. He actually picks up the extras as well. So if we are seeing McCree Doomfist, he's the McCree. You know, if they're going to run Soldier Doomfist, he's also the Soldier. So he's kind of playing around Aputo, I feel, a little bit. So in a certain way, you do have this lineup that is somewhat built around Aputo, but then you have this outer shell now of the 3 extra players from North America and Europe. And we've seen some of them already. You had Moffat, then you've had Graceful. This is Elk.
This indeed is Elk, and that's the thing. Mega Thunder, they have actually the widest representation of countries on their roster now, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, because they got Korea.
Yeah. Formerly there were Fireball, and Fireball was just Thailand.
Yeah.
Only Thailand.
Strictly Thailand.
Now it's Thailand.
That's Asian fusion. It's like you go to a
Thailand-
restaurant and it's just
Asian
it's not
fusion,
a
yeah,
Thai
yeah.
restaurant anymore. It's an Asian fusion restaurant.
Yeah. Like Tex-Mex. It's not really Mexican food. It's like the Asian fusion, right? And it's really just like Chinese food, but it's cooked by an American expert.
Yeah, right.
But they have people from Sweden. They have people from USA, people from Korea, people from Thailand. They're just like they've got like everything. One of it, like they went in to the team shop and they're like, I'll have one with everything, thanks.
but more spice because I like it Thai. So there you go.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
More Thai members than everybody
Just a
else.
little bit extra.
But I do like that representation. It says a lot about Overwatch as well. This is more of a global thing. They have global representation, and you'll actually see that if you look up Mega Thunder online, and usually a lot of teams have this country flag next to them. They just have a globe next to them because because it's not Europe, it's not Asia, it's just kind of everywhere.
Yeah, well, you're right. And technically, I think there's still a Thai majority on the team, but you're completely correct there. But in any case, kind of zeroing in back on the series at hand, AHQ have the home side, Mega Thunder the away, so that means AHQ will be able to pick maps 1, 3, and 5, which are Control, Assault, and Second Hybrid, whereas Mega Thunder will get the pick of Hybrid and Escort, maps 2 and 4, and AHQ's pick has been Lijiang Tower. Captain's firm handshake there as Nitor returns to his team.
And by the way, Lijiang Tower is the map that AHQ beat Flash Wolves on. So we talk about Flash Wolves this season as like the wounded Flash Wolves because they just come back from the World Cup, lost them 2 matches in a row. They come into OPC Season 2, they drop to AHQ, they drop to, who else did they drop to? They dropped to Hong Kong Attitude, they dropped to Lebanon Supreme, and now you have this AHQ, which is still kind of, I want to say a little bit unknown, because you talk about the 2 wins that AHQ did get. Those 2 wins were against Machi and Lebanon Supreme, so 2 of the teams a little bit further down in the standings. Lebanon Supreme still right at the bottom as well, so for AHQ, I don't know if they've been really heavily tested just yet in this tournament.
I think that's completely fair. The test that they have had was arguably against Flash Wolves. That's the only major test they've had, and it was when they lost. Especially if we're thinking in terms of teams that are looking like they will be top 4, or at least would be expected to be top 4. Of course, the particulars of that top 4 are kind of getting less and less defined as each day passes, or more defined if it's Ardian playing. This is a much-needed win for AHQ in terms of making sure their own position in the top 4 can be a little bit more solidified. 2-1 is not a comfortable scoreline because a loss puts you at 2-2 and tied 6th place if I'm not mistaken. And Mega Thunder desperately need wins.
That's exactly right, because 2-1 is not a great scoreline to go into the top 4. 1-3 is definitely a worse scoreline to go into the top 4. So I think this win actually would matter a lot more for Mega than it would for AHQ because Mega are just that much further behind. Here it is, rapid on the Doomfist, questions answered.
Well, I'll tell you what, actually, AHQ, they need this win to keep pace with Blank after their win. And I did mention that earlier. If they're both 3-1, then their own match will be the decider. But the decider right now has been Eric's death on the side of AHQ. And honestly, Moffat is just getting pretty free reign over this. Rapid does not seem confident in going in. Dizzy does get a good shot onto Moffat, but they're still at a numbers disadvantage, and Mega still have Aputo on the Soldier, who is totally untouched. Like I said, Rapid doesn't seem willing to go in. Finally catching Elk now, but he goes down for it. And this should give Mega Thunder the room they need to get onto the point itself.
And Dizzy and Rapid both picked up kills, and you have to respect AHQ for not wanting to back up too early there. They wanted to still contest. They managed to get a kill despite Eric going down. And Eric might just go down again.
Yeah.
Gotta be very careful about this. But
Still in the fight.
The cap hasn't gone.
It hasn't gone over, but that is because Eric stayed on it for longer, but he was on it when the rest of his team wasn't. Then he backed off because he was low. That was when the rest of his team committed. I actually feel like AHQ maybe should have just left Eric for dead.
I don't think Eric should have reinforced that quickly. I think for AHQ, maybe just back off. They're a little bit too eager to keep that fight going. You see the eagerness when originally Dizzy got that counter pick, was AHQ staying in. Eric comes back in despite members dying already, tried to reinforce a little bit too quickly, then got punished again. So Mega, they give the cap late, but they get the cap now with charged ultimate, something that AHQ don't have.
Muppet has this pulse bomb, which could honestly just catch someone on the back line here. And that's what he's fishing for. Doesn't quite catch anyone, not able to get the stick, but AHQ aren't quite on the point itself. That's a forced transcendence, but the Deadeye could convert something out for them. Ooh, everyone ducks for cover at the last minute. That's well reacted to, and now very lean on ultimates. Eric picked again, maybe in just a touch too early as Muppet one clips him with headshots. And now Mega, they're actually well ahead in this fight already with a good amount of percentage on the point itself as the self-destruct from Hehe there. Rapid finally getting himself a pick on the board through the sound barrier, but they're still not really dealing with these key DPS members of Mega, and Apudo has not really gone contested this entire game so far. It is showing as Mega Thunder hold again.
You're absolutely right. Apudo's been the key member for Mega Thunder because other members have been contested, but he's been safe for the predominant part of the game, and it is up to players like Rapid to do the job. He would do that anyway if he was on the Tracer. Now that he's on a Doomfist, his gameplay shouldn't change that much. His role certainly has not changed, but we are seeing a different level of impact, and this may just be because of the case that AHQ have less practice on the Doomfist in general.
That's a good shot onto Apudo to
Rapid's
take.
had it now.
Yeah, I am sick of this Apudo guy. Pulse Bomb gets eaten up by Hehe, so this is the opening AHQ need. They don't really have many ultimates left in the pocket here, Mega Thunder, but they can certainly push this up to the 99%. That would be enough for them. They're going to go in ahead with this Transcendence anyway, as Tito actually converts onto Rapid, who is still having little to no impact in this kill feed. Apudo has been able to regroup with this team now. Yeah, 95% as the Tactical Visor forces AHQ back off the point, even catches Hehe's mech for good measure, and they close out kills 99-0, and it'll soon be 100-0. This is a last-ditch Transcendence out of Keras. Hehe will get back into the mech. Deadeye from Dizzy could turn it back around, but it still gets nothing, and Rapid again is going to go down. AHQ just can't seem to get a foothold here. The DPS just can't seem to convert any kills, while Mega Thunder's Moffat and Apudo are absolutely going off. Should just be 100-0 here for the opening map of Lijiang Tower.
That was a tight round from Mega Thunder. They got to take that one with nice ease as well. 99-0, call that 100-0 more accurately. And it's almost fitting and slightly ironic that it was the composition that AHQ are most used to playing that actually they lose against. So
yeah,
they wanted to pull out the Doomfist. Nitor said in the pre-match interview that he really rates Apudo Doomfist. He said, look, they got a good Doomfist on the other side. We're going to try and match that. And then Mega Thunder come out the game and said, yeah, you're going to match that, except we're not going to play it. So
I think what Nitor should have said is, you've got a good Apudo. Because
we're going to try and match a good Apudo.
And I mean, we've talked about this before. Like, he's not wrong. Yeah, Apudo is a great Doomfist because he's a great player. He's going to look good on pretty much anything you put him on. And like, he is some of the most famous plays of the game in this tournament on Soldier specifically, as much as we rate him on all these other heroes like McCree and Doomfist.
Certainly Apudo's doing a lot of work, but it is up to AHQ to do something about it. Crappy got the only kill on Apudo last time around. I want to see Rapid have a little bit more impact on Apudo this time.
Yeah, again, very aggressive maneuvering here. That's a great pick onto Dizzy. And again, Apudo is just unopposed. Finally, the dive comes in from Eric, but already the backline is just being picked apart while Eric was going very deep. Now he's going to try and regroup to find his team close to dead, and Eric himself doesn't exactly have a ton of hit points. They are starting to swing back a little as they get on the verge of demaking White. He has to retreat, but he isn't dead. They get the point cap, but they pick Rapid now, so Mega can just get straight back on and cap it immediately afterwards. AHQ kind of held the ground, but they weren't actually winning the fight.
And you do see they committed a lot on Apudo. Everyone tried to dive from a Rapid. Eventually, he got the rocket punch, did 100 damage. Eric went in to get the kill, but they didn't really clean up on anyone else. Mega said, okay, you got Apudo. You're not killing anyone else here. We're going to clean up the rest of your team instead.
That's the thing you've got to remember. It used to be, once upon a time, Fireball was just the Apudo show. That is not the case. You can put everything into killing Apudo, and there is an entire team ready to pick you apart. And here they go again. The Transcendence out early to kind of punish AHQ's aggressive move in there. Rapid gets stuck with a pulse bomb, and I've yet to see this guy really go off on the Doomfist. And Mega just backing up for a moment now so they can draw the remaining members of AHQ forward. The close in from Eric now as they get the wraparound from Moffat, and they catch in the same spot. He won't quite lose his mech just yet, but AHQ are completely separated out, and Mega are just going to town.
You definitely don't want to point fingers here, and it's very difficult to sort of not scapegoat, but you have to look at this composition AHQ are running. On paper, nothing wrong with it, but you have to remember a little bit unpracticed. They're just bringing this out now for week 2, when they hadn't played it at all into week 1, and the signs do show that it's just not quite refined enough.
Yeah, the comp is unpracticed, but the only hero on it is the Doomfist that's unpracticed. Dizzy is also not really going off. That is another completely muted Deadeye out of him with no targets. He's also not landing these headshots. Rolls into a pulse
still rolling
from Moffat. Yeah, still rolling. Still rowing Gendry, rather. That was a terrible reference. Eric does get one kill back onto Apudo, and that is a much needed one. They have taken a bit of ground, but once again, Mega Thunder are going to push this one over that sort of 80 to 90% threshold and can still win this fight anyway if Apudo is able to reinforce. They may just want to back off. They're not quite getting these kills through, even as they get crappy. And they've lost their own healer. Actually, Apudo's regrouped now. They've decided they want to go for this, and they absolutely can. Over the 90% mark now. Here he loses the mech, throws out the self-destruction we can remech, but he dies in the pilot form, so he's not going to be able to. Eric's down. Mega Thunder held on. Where was the conversion from AHQ? And this is just a tactical visor for style points. Mega Thunder double shut out on Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, very clean. I guess on the second time around, the consolation prize is AHQ got 7%, if that's even memorable. It's like, there you go, you got 7%.
I almost forgot they got that because they lost it so quickly.
And I only remember because I just made sure to check, but yeah, this is the thing. This is so far, I guess, all in, maybe not super accurate, but it did feel like they were committed to making this try and happen. For AHQ, the Doomfist McCree, putting Rapid on the Doomfist. Look, Rapid's had great impact on Tracer so far. You look at the wins that AHQ have had. You look at the way that AHQ beat Flash Wolves on the Lijiang Tower last week as well. They're beating that off the back of Rapid's Tracer, beating that off the back of Dizzy playing Soldier. The Soldier Tracer, much like what Flash Wolves are good at, that's what they're good at as well. So now they're trying to do something else, and Elk's like, show me more.
Yeah, so what do you got? I'm going to be honest. I'm not gonna lambast AHQ too much here because, like I said, I can't look at Rapid and say, oh, it's all Rapid. He's underperforming on the Doomfist, because I did say as well, you know, Dizzy is a really good McCree player, and that also wasn't coming through. There were a couple of things not quite hitting the mark there for AHQ, but more importantly, actually, Mega played a really clean game of Overwatch there. They weren't hugely pushed, they weren't hugely contested, especially with members like Apudo, and we did identify that. But given that was the case, they leveraged that and ran with it. And that's why we had those kinds of shutouts. If we looked at how they were positioning, they played a very clean positional game.
And you have to remember, when you add the Doomfist into the composition, things get quite chaotic. You have a lot of different people in different positions. I actually feel like the Tracer Soldier playstyle is a lot more controlled, it is a lot more cleaner. And for AHQ, and I'm not picking on Rapid either, because you're right, it's not just one guy, it's the whole team. Let's actually take a look at the replay. You might get a better idea of exactly how it happens. The opening fight onto Gardens, already positionally, you do see AHQ moving quite forward, losing Eric right off the bat to Moffat, though, but this is the part where AHQ don't back off. Dizzy should get a kill here from McCree onto somebody. I'm not too sure exactly who it was. It was onto Moffat. So 5v5 for a brief moment, but Crappy going down puts into a 5v4 situation. Still AHQ want to stay into this one. This is when they overstay.
And the thing that happens here as well is positionally, the DPS of Mega Thunder were kind of on two sides there. You had Apudo sort of more up by the building, and you had Moffat wrapping around the other side. Because there was no Tracer to contest Moffat, he had free reign on that side. That's why Eric died, for example, because he couldn't really back up. That angle was being covered. Apudo was firing from cover, and the rest of the team did kind of back in and out at various points, but AHQ just kind of stayed in the middle of that crossfire for a very, very long time.
Let's take a look at the next replay now, further on into this map, and 31% already capped now for Mega Thunder. They actually had a decent lead because that first fight was so long and protracted, and it's Eric getting picked again right off the top.
And what really happened here is they used the resources they had for really no effect. The Transcendence was kind of forced from Keres, and he wanted to go onto the point with it, then had to back up to keep Eric alive, and Dizzy as well, who was channeling the Deadeye. So by the time they then went back into the point, Eric didn't really have any support and got picked off quickly. From that point, it may have been better off for AHQ to just kind of fully retreat. And you saw here the fact that Eric actually died again having been the first to be picked off, tells you that they continued to commit even long after the fight was probably already lost, because the fight was probably lost from the moment they got nothing from those 2 ultimates and Eric died.
And that's very much the sort of playstyle that Ardian have been performing so far in this tournament in OPC Season 2, but for a team like AHQ, at some point you do need to draw the line and say, okay, enough is enough. This is now just bleeding members. We're now just feeding ultimates onto the other team, especially if it's tanks dying over and over. It's 500 HP tanks worth of ultimates going to the other team. That's when you really got to look at it and say, it's better to regroup here. It's better for us to go back in at 6. And that's actually something that Blank did in their previous series against Liberate Supreme as we now head into Night Market.
So this was actually the one point where AHQ did get some time on the point. Now what happens is they lose these early members. They do kill a Puto, and a couple of members die for that. So Mega Thunder just back up a little bit so that Eric doesn't go too nuts on the back line, and that's why AHQ were able to get to this point, just because of how the timing worked out. You can actually see Mega Thunder have the numerical superiority. They also have positional superiority, but they were on the point just enough, AHQ, and it had unlocked that they were technically able to get a cap. But I'll be honest, had that entire fight started 7 seconds earlier, they would have been on the point just before it unlocked and wouldn't have actually got that cap given how quickly Mega then collapsed in on them. So really, the fight, just the particular positions at particular seconds just happened to allow AHQ to have that particular cap, but it wasn't because they actually earned the cap. They weren't winning the fight. That was just where they were in their retreat, and they were on it for just long enough. So also take that with a grain of salt. That's why I completely forgot that it happened.
Yeah, that's really, sneaky 7%.
Yeah, really Mega Thunder were winning it from start to finish.
All right, you also had the moment where I think very key that we saw in that replay was that huge commit right on top of Apudo. And actually what made it harder, interestingly enough, was Rapid punching him way to the back plane, forcing Eric to make a very deep jump onto Apudo in sort of that back area in the sort of shop, just, I don't even know what it is, that little shops area. We'll go to the next replay now. You'll actually see it. What I'm talking about is the area on the right. And by this time in the game, we already have a huge lead from the Mega side.
So this was the most scattered fight AHQ had. You see carries again, just kind of not sure where to go with this Transcendence. Do they go in? Do they back out? You see Eric has gone really deep with Primal Rage. The rest of the team is still skirmishing around where he is positioned. And all the while, Moffat has absolutely no one contesting him. It doesn't matter where these tanks are, they're separated. Moffat can go onto the front line DPSs, he can go onto the healers, he can go onto anyone he wants, and that's reflected now that the fight finally gets to the point itself. Actually, AHQ have been dying one by one in all these scattered positions. They don't have this real numerical inferiority in this huge sense. It's not like it's a 3 versus 6, but at no particular point is it really much more than a 4 versus 6, even when there's 5 people alive, because of how scattered they are when those ones are getting picked off.
The big thing for me is you actually see, particularly in this replay, that Eric committed hard onto Apudo again. It does seem like the team almost telling him, look, it's your job now, you got to be the one to go for Apudo. And he does do that. The problem is he gets dragged so far away from the team every single time just to get Apudo. He's not there with everyone else, and actually, despite that one kill that Rapid got onto Moffat, which was one of the few times, if any, that Moffat actually died, there was a lack of AHQ's ability to clean up everyone else, including the tanks. So you had guys like White still alive, you know, Graceful and Alkin, the rest on the support line didn't really get affected too much either. It was a lot of people diving onto Apudo and then couldn't clean up the rest of the team.
Mega's pick here is going to be Numbani for an escort. It's the first Numbani I think we've actually seen in Season 2, so this will be interesting.
It's not. We've seen already, I believe Machi played it against somebody, because we did see, remember Forbes came out and stuff like that.
I think it was actually against, no, we actually saw it just yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever.
It was Machi Ardian. I'm pretty sure it was Machi Ardian. That was a Numbani.
We did, yeah, we have also seen that. So I kind of want to touch on one final thing from Lijiang, because it's also something that will be relevant here. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, production, for pointing out
that.
Yeah, for pointing out how wrong I was in my statement. But Apudo, I did mention when he had a lot of that free reign, because no one was really prioritizing him in the earlier parts. Production. Well, where would we
Apudo.
be? Apudo is what I'm actually talking about. I'm a little disappointed that wasn't a winky face, but he was getting a lot done when he had that free reign. And then AHQ rightly identified, okay, Apudo's getting free reign, we've got to do something about that. And A, they did it suboptimally, but B, Mega also reacted to it. And like I said, this team is not the Apudo show anymore. Look, Apudo was doing great, he was looking good. But when he was picked off, the team was still doing totally fine. And they had to, they forced AHQ to commit a whole ton of resources and really overextend themselves just to kill Apudo. So it's almost using that threat member as a strategic thing. Like, they didn't even have him die once and have a really low impact fight. Like, they just immediately identified, okay, Apudo's going off. The moment they start prioritizing him, let's use that to set traps.
Well, that's why it's ironic, because that's AHQ and Flash Wall's playstyle on the exact
they
same
do that all the
position.
time with Dizzy and Zonda.
You should very much know that's the case, and the problem with it is, it's like, pick your poison, because you either leave him alone and he's going off, or you have to deal with them and overextend, and either way you go about it, neither feels really right. So, I mean, you got to find better angles of approach, because eventually, yeah, you do have to deal with them, but the slight mechanical errors do wind their ugly head around, because you do see that very first fight, Rapid punched Apudo further away. Now, if you're a Doomfist player, you have to work angles with the walls, and if you're not working angles with the walls, you're not helping yourself, you're actually just helping the other team.
You can't just go in with the punch. Like, you have to use it. It's a great mobility tool, but you don't use it just to go in. You use it to get a kill, or you use it to maneuver around.
Well, AHQ going to go back to a more tried and true formula. Dizzy onto the McCree as well. He's been a good hit scan player nonetheless. Didn't see enough out of him on the McCree on Lijiang. Let's see a little bit more now on Numbani.
And Apudo over to the Genji. That means Moffat is going to be the one taking up the Soldier here. So let's see how this one works out now for Mega Thunder.
It's pretty aggressive positioning so far. Looking nice flank from Rapid. Moffat going down. That's going to be the go button.
That is indeed the go button. And Rapid getting good pressure onto Graceful as well, who's had to back way off. Apudo very low on the side of this one, and that should just be Mega Thunder getting cracked wide open. Very, very fast maneuver out of AHQ. And yeah, looking a lot more comfortable on the Tracer McCree here.
Yeah, definitely. You can tell as soon as they go back onto a composition they've spent much longer practicing. You go back onto something that's really good for Rapid as well. Like Dizzy just, yeah, I mean, he does this onto Soldier, he does this on McCree. Rapid's getting kills as well.
Oh, wow.
This is the AHQ we remember.
And bit of unfortunate positioning, actually. I say unfortunate. The real word is sloppy out of Mega Thunder. Part of their members hadn't really retreated in earnest yet, and they got picked off by Rapid, and then the rest trying to retreat after that.
They're still losing members.
Well, that's because the others got picked off before that. The few that had retreated successfully didn't have the numbers to punish AHQ for going deep and killing them, so AHQ did exactly that. They're going to get a ton of free space on this payload.
Exactly, and they've earned it too, and rather Mega just kind of gave it to them. So for AHQ, and rather, no, I want to talk about Mega here, because they were the ones that should have backed off or regrouped a little bit quicker. That free space that AHQ get, that was easily preventable by Mega just by not losing those members.
Oh man, eyes on Rapid. He's going to be able to spot out where Moffat is because of the direction of the bullets. Now he's going to go in for a stick, looks for it, does go wide on the pulse bomb. Oh, doesn't quite close out on Moffat with the quick melee either, but while that's happening, Keras does pick L. So AHQ still very much underway as Titawalk goes down as well. And Dizzy is on this kind of opposite high ground to Moffat, who hasn't got the space to contest. The payload gets capped, and a very kind of low energy fight from AHQ.
It just doesn't seem like there's been much of a defense just yet. It's been AHQ rolling over A, AHQ rolling over B.
That's reflected in the 6 minutes AHQ still have.
And even the very slight mechanical errors once again coming out of Rapid, not cleaning up the kill to Moffat. I mean, that should have been a kill. Eventually gets a kill anyway, but the impact of that mistake just not really being reflected, because the rest of Mega are still getting rolled over by other members of AHQ.
So far, absolutely. And again, Moffat, there's the Deadeye now, so Mega have to kind of run for the hills. Hide. It's kind of like hide and seek.
It's like when you show up for the duel at noon and no one else shows up.
Yeah. He does finally go down to Apudo, so there we go, that's that deal sorted. And Apudo could turn this one back around with this Dragon Blade. They've got the closer respawn, but so far AHQ have been coming out the better of this fight. They're still just getting all of these picked through. Someone's got to contest this payload. Elka gets Eric, but that's not going to mean much. Now Apudo onto the backline. This is what they need, but someone's got to touch the payload. Apudo finally dashes for it as AHQ start to back off, but man, that nearly went through under their noses.
Now, we haven't seen this visor at the end here, which is probably a little bit desperate, a little bit unneeded.
And stay out.
You're already off my lawn, and I'm gonna keep waving at you while you...
Yeah, he's actually just like shooting at his own lawn now. Like, get off my lawn. Like, we're already off your lawn, dude. Relax.
I think we need to potentially see Moffat back on the Tracer as well, because you do need a little bit more mobility out of this Mega Thunder lineup, because so far it's just coming out of Apudo, at least from the DPS side. We're waiting for this blade. It should be coming. There it is.
Nano Blade indeed through the sound barrier as well, and needs to get a lot of work, but he hasn't got the opening kill to get the resets, and Rapid was not the ideal ideal target either. So he just gets nothing for that double ult combo. Now AHQ have their window to go in. Eric is low. They're getting some good damage through. That's going to be the self-destruct to buy space for Mega Thunder. That was a very good self-destruct kill, actually. They got a little bit more than just space, and now Rapid and full retreat is going to get picked off as well. So that was a good hold out of Mega Thunder, but that really nearly got nothing with their resources they committed.
Yeah, you gotta do that a few more times. I mean, the time that AHQ bought with the quick 2 pushes on A and B is just, they're really cashing that in right now, but you gotta run out of it eventually, and Dizzy's not gonna waste too much time either, changing back onto the soldiers. So we talk about this as being the more standard AHQ composition they like to run. Hopefully now we'll see why.
Yeah, long gun, short gun. Dizzy does get a bit pressured here, but he is going to be just fine. Let's see him really go off. Getting the pressure on the cheated white. Oh dear, Moffat getting picked out by Carey. That's a little unfortunate. And going to go ahead and commit a Transcendence out of Elk just to keep the team safe through this so they can convert more kills. But it is run out, and White is demech now. Still plenty of space and time for AHQ to go off in this fight. Eric's committed his ultimate. Here goes Apudo as Rapid picks off White. That's immediately a Transcendence kind of neutered that Dragon Blade. Now Moffat is the one who has to get work done, and he's getting blocked out by this defense matrix. Rapid gets T1 as well, and Moffat still found nothing. Now he's just in full retreat. Who's going to contest this payload as the DPS isn't getting any kills? Apudo is dead again. They finally pick off Rapid, but how many times will it be the supports that kill that Tracer? Elk getting picked up as well, and this payload is on the cusp of being uncontested to the end as Dizzy, now with this tactical visor, going to pop it to keep the members of Mega in the base, and the payload goes over the line. They had a full 6 minutes to do it, and they got it over in about 2:45, but that is still a very demanding cap from AHQ.
I think credit to Mega Thunder right at the end there for bleeding down 6 minutes to 2 minutes something, and you really have to look at what the difference could have been, because overall, that 2 minutes could have been made up on either A or B. Now,
what
consider
if
a scenario.
any other point had it been defended that same
Well, that's
caliber?
the thing, right? That's kind of the point is Mega Thunder, had they had that defense of 2 minutes spread out either between A or B, this would have been an overtime push.
Exactly. Or even if, you know, at each defensible juncture, you pull a minute off the clock. That's how overtime comes about. So yeah, look, great holdout at that particular point. But yeah, like you said, if they could do it then, how come they didn't do it earlier? How come they weren't able to do it earlier?
Well, a big part of that is the fact that, you know, I want to go back to more fundamentals of Overwatch and the fact that the map is designed in such a way that the third cap is the best defensible point for a defensive team. That's where you have the biggest advantage, but more so it's about the pressure and about the momentum that an attacking team carries through. You have a situation where you just cap A as AHQ. You still have just members of Mega just littered around there, not even really together or doing anything meaningful, and just getting picked off by guys like Rapid continuously. Rapid got like 3 or 4 kills after A was capped. I mean, for Mega Thunder, you're just losing so much space here. You're losing the ability to set up for an actual fight, and then B disappears before your eyes, before you even realize it, without ever being able to set up. So stabilization only happened after Mega Thunder decided, okay, now we're going to group together for the first time.
I've had some bad museum experiences in the past.
All right, just Winston sharing his life story there, opening up about his past. You know, I've never had a bad museum experience.
I've only had neutral experiences, and they haven't been super great. They haven't been bad.
I've had good experiences, and yeah, like most museum experiences are just average. Like most museums are just, oh, here's some old stuff, cool. I've never had a bad museum experience. Like I've never been attacked or, I don't know.
By an exhibit thing? Like a dinosaur just attacked? I don't know.
A dinosaur, yeah. I got attacked at the Natural History Museum by a skeletal T-Rex. Wow, okay, so out the gate now, Mega Thunder already picking off carries, and this is the inverse of what AHQ did to them. They do lose White Smec though, so it's not going to be as clean. And there's this Mercy here out of Crappy as well, so if they can get some more kills over, they will eventually get the res. Crappy's getting picked off though. That is big danger indeed. Elk getting that one now. Rapid in a lot of trouble, gets picked off as well, and Mega Thunder have the opportunity to open up now, and this is very nicely handled. Similar kind of pace to what AHQ did to them.
Absolutely similar pace, but I'm not expecting AHQ to linger around too much here. Expect Mega Thunder to probably get some early pressure onto the Streets phase, but for AHQ, a full regroup, a full stabilization. If they can buy the time onto the Streets phase, that's something Mega didn't do. So this is a window.
Look at the discipline that happened with Mega Thunder there, by the way. They only put one person on the cap because that's all they needed. They kept the healers and Apudo on the high ground in case AHQ came in for a contest. They sent Moffat forward to spot it out or maybe even get a pick. So that was very disciplined by Mega Thunder. And AHQ, I think, were very right to not go in for a last-ditch contest.
Disciplined on both sides.
Yeah, because AHQ had
was setting up too.
Exactly. Mega had it so well covered. That's a very timely transcendence out of Elk, though, just as he was on the cusp of death. So now they need to convert, and indeed they do as they pick Rapid. They want to close out on Dizzy as well, who is that attack visor, but I think, again, discipline from AHQ is they just retreat, give up the space, and Mega Thunder are going to keep the payload moving.
Well, you give up the space, but then you check to see if there's an overcommit, because that's where you can have a turnaround. You're always looking to turn around, and that's the mark of a good team. For AHQ, Mega Thunder, discipline.
Come on, Apudo, I believe in you.
Back off. Yeah, you're waiting for the next cooldown of the rocket, I believe.
He's just given up on it. He's like, you know what, the payload's gone. And that's actually
Eric's
a really
let me help
deep
you
dive from Eric. Yeah, he's got the Primal Rage, so he's comfortable going for it. Apudo backing up further and further. He's got a healer there. And they've just wasted Eric's time now. He's now asleep. The Primal Rage is going to run out as he wakes up and to heal onto him. And while that's all been happening, T1 goes unopposed on the backline. Eric just wasted a ton of time. Just when we were talking about AHQ's disciplined play, an extremely undisciplined dive from Eric.
Well, the thing is, we look back to Lijiang Tower. This was the kind of play that AHQ was making against Apudo back then, and I don't really know. I don't want to say
20 seconds less.
I don't want to say that it's really Eric's fault there, because it is AHQ saying, look, Eric has to be the guy that deals with Apudo, and that's how they're dealing with it. Not the most effective way. And now we're seeing Dizzy and Rapid go back to something more comfortable. I think this is the AHQ that has the potential to make a full holdout.
It totally is. Also, by the way, Apudo lived on like 10 health for a very long time, so that's also a factor. But already, Rapid picking Elk and Moffat going down to Dizzy. That is the defense that AHQ need. Yeah, and much further forward than what Mega was able to do to them. So Mega, similar amount of time. They actually just 25 seconds less than AHQ at that second cap going over. There's still a lot more time that AHQ need to hold out for. This is achievable for both teams, but you're completely right. AHQ, this is looking like a team that can hold out Mega Thunder.
You almost wish they just did this to start with. I mean, for AHQ, don't fix what's not broke. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. And, you know, going back to the original design here for AHQ, can they hold out for 3 minutes?
Mark 1.
4 minutes and 36.
Well,
I think they can, because
picking Moffat's one way to do it. He didn't really need to be that far forward either, Moffat. He was trying to get a bit clever on the payload.
Yeah, I mean, this is partly how Mega also held HQ for so long. They were just able to get the momentum back on their own side, stop that snowball, find the pickouts where they can, get your ultimate advantage back up. AHQ are definitely doing that. This is the economy for AHQ land in control.
Ooh, Rapid was in a bit of a tight spot. They didn't have anywhere great to recall to, but T1 in a bit of trouble as he comes out the gate here. He's gonna have to back right up. Sound barrier for AHQ. They want to go aggressive. They want to convert. But Eric, again, needs to be careful that he doesn't go too far in, but they do convert onto Graceful and Moffat. Rapid does pull the weight there this time around. Again, again, the repel comes through. They don't get baited completely into a death trap here because there's just not enough members to spring it. That was a good hold by AHQ.
Well, actually, Mega were the ones that got caught in a trap because they tried to retreat up the stairs and suddenly AHQ were all over them. That was a very aggressive sound barrier used by Crappy. I did have to question it just a little bit because it kind of felt preemptive and they weren't really at too much of a threat. They didn't dive too deep either. They kind of just played that stairs section very patiently and found picks one by one, and eventually Mega they knew they couldn't last there very long, but they all got picked out.
Rapid is spotting them out very nicely, so Mega aren't going to be able to set up with complete free reign. Now they are able to kind of get a bit more into position.
So this has to be the push they win if they want to match AHQ's time. Otherwise, they're looking at they're looking at less time in the time back, and that's going to be an issue.
They need to convert a lot of kills quite quickly. Apudo attack visoring out Crappy is a good end towards that, but he's having to retreat a big long way.
That's 1v1.
Yeah, that is the 1v1 they were looking for. Actually, Scarius who gets the kill on the back side of that one. That means AHQ are now fully reinforcing. Mega Thunder at the numbers disadvantage. They don't have the extra damage out of Apudo here, so it all has to be Moffat. They're not really getting the kills. They're actually looting the payload though, so they're at least getting something for this. Picking Rapid is a good way to go, but the spawn is closer for AHQ. They need to get like at least 2 kills for every 1 member they lose. Apudo is now going to rejoin, but they're lacking the front line and T1. AHQ giving it space because they know they can.
They're also lacking the card distance, right? Because if the card was a little bit further up, this is when AHQ get a bit more desperate because they have to make the plays into the card. A good stick and deep, but got to clean up the kill. They're not doing it.
Oh, there we go. Finally able to close that one out. But that was a little bit dire. That's going to be the tactical visor out of Dizzy to stop up that cart movement, but he doesn't get much for it. Actually, he's pressured back. He goes down to the combined efforts of White and T2Watt. And this is a huge sleep onto Rapid to take him out of the picture. And suddenly AHQ are looking very, very scattered here. The self-destruct picking off Crappy as he tries to rejoin and reinforce these tanks on the payload. This should just be a cap in a moment here. Who's even stopping up the payload right now from AHQ?
Oh,
no one is the answer.
Oh, Rapid.
Yeah, Rapid respawning in, and that will be the cap. About a minute less overall, but they got it over the line, and that's what counts.
That is really important because their defense was a bit of a shambles. On the other hand, AHQ's defense, kind of a similar story, and I don't want to go back to the composition, but you almost just have to because it just doesn't seem polished. It's just so rough around the edges of this Doomfist composition coming out of AHQ.
Is he like checking T2Watt's pulse there?
Huh? Yeah, you still alive because that was a tight series. It's not
Yeah.
actually over just yet. We are going to go into time back, and that 1 minute difference might be the difference between winning and losing in a lot of cases because you have that extra minute. I think you're a lot more likely to get the Cap A done. That being said, both teams had a fantastic Cap A. Now, what I want to see out of AHQ is I don't think it's time to pull out the Doomfist again. Go back to Tracer Soldier, and maybe you'll do a full hold, and that's probably where AHQ can win.
And the big difference in time there as well was actually the payload distance. You kind of mentioned it. Because AHQ finally got their defense a little bit further forward than what Mega did to them, Mega's final fight, even though they won it the whole way through, it took a lot longer just because it had to happen over a longer amount of payload distance. So that does mean Mega also attacked first now with the lesser time. This is also going to be Crappy back to the Torbjorn. So this is sort of the old faithful for AHQ.
Yeah, this is the classic, right? I mean, this is exactly what you want to see out of AHQ. This is where they get their most wins, the most percentage of wins, where they have their best results. And both teams going to be running practically the same thing, but Crappy back on the Torbjorn, I think that's a good sign as well.
I'd have to agree with you there. Now let's see what Mega do to set up here. Looking to again get a put on this high ground. They do know that there is a Torbjorn here, and they'll probably have a good idea of where the turret is. Need to get a good open out. There's the dive in from Eric. Oh, catches Graceful, who didn't quite pull back in time. That's significant. But Busy does go down to T2Watt on the other side of that. The respawn is closer for AHQ, but as Moffat converts, oh, but T2Watt getting picked. This is still kind of anyone's fight right now, but Mega do have the position that they were looking for and from the outset. And Aputo is still alive, set up on that high ground. Moffat's also kind of getting free reign. If he picks Crappy here, that would be massive, but no, he doesn't close out and actually gets closed out himself. So Mega is going to have to retreat here and AHQ hold for now.
So this now looks a little bit more dire because Mega Thunder, if they cap at all, will be capping into overtime, which means they're also pushing the card into overtime. I think it's absolutely crucial that they cap. AHQ have a lot more time to work with, and they're expected to cap. So for Mega Thunder, not getting a cap here, I think they might lose off that.
Yeah, that would be huge. They would have to first hold themselves. At the very least, they need to get some progress on that point. And that is a sneaky turret placement.
And ultimates are coming online for AHQ as well. The big one is if Crappy can somehow get their molten core, that might be the nail in the coffin defensively.
Yeah, someone needs to really shut him down before that becomes a factor. He's got a bit of the armor factory already up. That's the turret going down. Some Moffat does spot it out, but yeah, Molten Core grows ever closer. Aputo, ooh, Crappy's down. That's huge. And they were spending a lot of resources pressuring Aputo. He's still alive. They do lose Moffat. And here's now the nano boost onto the Winston, but Aputo is still alive. Someone needs to get onto the point itself, though. No one's on it. Oh, my goodness. They're still at all the members, but they were spending so much time countering the dive onto Aputo that no one touched the point itself. Now they have to full hold for just under 3 minutes.
Not even full hold, but full hold at 33%.
Yeah.
Because they didn't get past 33%. And that's interesting as well for Mega Thunder. I mean, they had I would like to say a good start. Look, Moffat got a kill into the turret, then got a kill into Crappy, and that was important because not only to shut Crappy down before Molten Core becomes a factor, but actually because Crappy, the previous fight, was the one that beat Moffat. So this time around, getting his revenge kill, really setting up his team to get everything done. I want to commend Eric and the Nano Boost coming out from carries as well. That really locked up the fight and prevented Mega Thunder from getting out of that the stairs section onto the high ground, and that really secured it for me.
I think the interesting thing about that defense, above everything else, was actually the fact that AHQ just succeeded where they failed. We've seen a lot of teams not only capping on these hybrid maps, but capping in a single push. And we saw that happen earlier on King's Row, where actually both teams were able to cap on their first push twice because it did go to time bank for both teams. This is the first time a team has failed to hold that first defense and then successfully done it in time bank. I think that's quite a significant thing about it.
Yeah, but it is. But at the same time, this is why I go back to the compositions, because it just looked like a super unpolished Doomfist thing that they were trying to run. And so AHQ immediately going back onto what they're used to, suddenly they're a lot stronger.
See now how they pull off the Trace and McCree and already picking a Pudo. It is looking good for them. Mega need to get a trade kill very, very quickly, but AHQ get to set themselves up on this ground that they so desperately want. Still waiting for Apudo here. T2-1, if it gets closed out on, it's going to mean that Apudo's reinforcement might not count for much as Elk goes down as well. No one's on the point, but Mega Thunder finally contesting. That is narrow, but they get the kills. It's not going to matter. And unless Apudo plays out of his mind, it is all over for Mega. Indeed, it is. And AHQ even up the score, 1-1.
And that looked pretty much like the original AHQ attack where they got in one push anyway. And they didn't even need the additional time. Look, they had 1 extra minute. They didn't need it. If this was the other way around and AHQ attacked first, you could expect them to A, get that cap, but then push that cart into a very considerable distance in the streets as well. So I think for AHQ, this was just a much stronger map overall. The only questions was around that defense that AHQ did have, but I think that almost got kind of answered because the second time they went for the defense, they did get that full hold. And like, I guess, mind you, that full hold happened when Mega didn't have the time anyway, but the fact that Mega didn't get it in their first push, and the fact that AHQ just looked like they had a much more solid defense overall, kind of says to me that the old AHQ, the more practiced AHQ, running what they know they can do, is definitely stronger than this new kind of thing they're trying to get into.
And that was reflected as well, I mean, just in A, the 2 wins they have picked up, and B, the fact that they won Lijiang Tower against Flash Wolves, playing as you put it, the old AHQ, and lost Lijiang Tower tonight, playing the new AHQ. So yeah, you make a valid point there.
Let's take a look at the replay now, and it's going to be very early on. This is the AHQ attack, killing Moffat. So on the time bank, they managed to kill Apudo first. This time they kill Moffat, and I hope this replay goes a little bit longer because the important thing is actually what happens after this cap. What happens after this is Rapid still picks up like 2, maybe 3 extra kills, and that all comes off the fact that Mega Thunder never really went back and stabilized with the rest of the team.
Yeah.
They kind of just hung around and just sat there waiting to be killed. It was a little bit awkward to watch.
Yeah, and we pointed it out, but on Mega Thunder's attack, by comparison, actually both teams were very disciplined. AHQ didn't sort of go for that recommit that Mega Thunder sort of did there, and that's the thing, they didn't even fully go for a recommit. T2-1 went in, got picked off. Some members hadn't properly retreated because they were obviously wanting to recommit, and other members had retreated. The ones that hadn't retreated got picked off, and suddenly the ones that had, it was like a 2 versus 3 because those are the 3 members of AHQ that went forward. So even though they had done the right thing, they still kind of got a little bit punished just because they didn't have the numbers. So that's about as wrong as it can possibly go when you mess up in those sorts of situations. So it's interesting that by comparison, AHQ were extremely disciplined. Unfortunately, it didn't get reflected much in the overall time it took for Mega to cap the second point because they also played a good offense, but that discipline did count for a lot when it came to that time bank defense.
And you know, we already mentioned this, but they sort of, AHQ only got it over the line with 2 minutes something remaining, and that 2 minutes could have been made up on either A or B. So for Mega Thunder, the fact that they lost B so quickly off the back of some of the mistakes they made earlier by just giving away extra kills to Rapid, they were trying to look for an early, I guess, hole with members grouping around, but they weren't fully grouped up yet. By the time they were, look, the cart was, I guess, even more than halfway pushed onto streets. And then you had that play from Moffat where he nearly got killed by Rapid and eventually did get killed despite Rapid, you know, kind of failing mechanically a little bit there. But the rest of AHQ cleaned them up anyway. Look at the next replay. This is going to be now the other side around and Mega attack first.
Yeah, and they attacked in a similar kind of time is the important thing here. It was the same kind of thing, first push. And once again, we see them committing a lot onto trying to dislodge Apudo from this high ground. But what they're not doing themselves is drawing T2-1 onto their high ground DPS because actually they don't really have any. Dizzy was on the ground for a very, very long time there, and I'm not sure exactly why. I wonder if maybe he mispositioned a little bit and stepped off. I didn't actually quite catch that, but at any rate,
by tanks, I don't know.
Yeah, potentially, but that's the thing, right? If that's how it played out, then basically Mega was successful at dislodging Dizzy, while AHQ were completely unsuccessful at dislodging Apudo, and that's actually happened every single time AHQ were on the defense. They got away with it on the time bank just because there was such little time, and they made it so that Mega had to commit a lot of resources to stopping Apudo from getting dislodged. And we're actually on the cusp of pushing AHQ back and getting onto the point when the overtime ticked down in that time bank. So AHQ got away with it, but really they're still struggling to shut down Apudo, both defensively and offensively, the majority of the time. And that will actually cost them throughout the entirety of the series, even as they have evened it up here in Numbani.
I mean, look, the times when AHQ were very successful, I think everyone just got shut down, including Apudo. And I want to highlight the fact that when AHQ had their time bank attack, Apudo and Genji immediately melted. Let's actually take a look at the replay now. This is going to be the final push on through right late in the stage of the game by, if I'm not mistaken, who is that? It looks
I actually believe they get driven back here. Yeah, and this is interesting.
Oh, this is the stair trap.
Yeah, so you're right about the sound barrier. It seems very quick, very preemptive, because there's this nano boost on T to what? They're going into a very dangerous situation, but what's actually happening is you'll notice the remaining members of AHQ, notably Rapid and Dizzy, also at least Rapid, had stayed on the other side of that high ground. So while the rest of the team was going into the bottom of the stairwell, they knew that Mega were already retreating, so they were going, okay, let's make them retreat even further, and then they cut them off. Had they not actually gone in for that, Mega wouldn't have had to retreat as far, and they wouldn't have retreated into Rapid, who was still on that kind of upper part of the stairwell, because that whole area on Numbani loops all the way through. Just in case people don't know. And it really is just the smart use of that space by AHQ to force Mega into that position.
Take a look at the next replay now. This one is going to be in sort of the final push on from, by the looks of it, AHQ, right before they secure it.
This is Mega's push, yeah.
Right, it is Mega's push. And they get it just sort of, like we said already, 1 minute shy of what AHQ's time was. And I guess not a lot to be said here except the fact that, look, we've covered this already. Apudo, just kind of unchallenged. You see Apudo's point of perspective in the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
And look, he's just in a position where he's putting on damage for everybody. Moffat cleans up the kills. White's cleaning up his damage as well. His damage doesn't really make it to the kill feed, but you can tell that his damage counts because everyone else gets the kills for him.
And the interesting thing about that, we mentioned this during the game as well, Mega Thunder had to make up a lot more distance when they started winning fights on that third point than what AHQ did. AHQ had it close enough that they only had to really win one fight and it was already over the line. Mega Thunder had to win a fight and continue winning it as the respawns came through. The reason they were able to do that, and this is something that they've continuously done very well, is they won the fight and then instantly set themselves up. They took a moment, actually. They used a bit of the time they had. They were still pushing the payload, mind you, but they weren't really going aggressive and going forward, going, let's get a full team wipe. They played patient enough to set themselves up. That's why at the end there, Apudo seemed so uncontested. It's because Mega had taken the time to make that the case and make it such that AHQ couldn't dive their backline and couldn't really get back into the fight despite having the respawn advantage.
Right, well, AHQ struck back pretty strongly there. I think they definitely sent a message over to the Mega Thunder camp. It looked like it was going to be a very, I guess, I don't want to say easy, but Mega made that first map look pretty easy. Now, map 3 is going to be coming up very soon. It's going to be Assault. We'll find out what happens right after this break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to OPC Season 2, as we're about to head into map number 3 of the series so far. AHQ are currently tied with Mega Thunder 1-1, and we're about to head into Assault. And it has been, I would say, a very one-sided Lijiang into a actually very competitive Numbani.
Yeah, and AHQ was absolutely the better of the two by enough that I feel they could play Numbani again and AHQ would still win it. But you're completely right. It was closer than Lijiang was, and Lijiang was actually really Mega Thunder favored. Now, going back to AHQ's map pick, they're going to go to Hanamura, and you actually mentioned this. They are one of the teams that really likes them a Hanamura map. So,
first Hanamura of the team.
Yeah,
of
first
OPC
Hanamura of OPC. You're completely right. Now that you've said, I think, I just know production is going to pull up a match where Hanamura was played, and we're going to feel stupid.
I would know if Hanamura got played. I know these things.
You just, it's like your brain just like, has like this little Hanamura tally, like you know,
But
like,
not for any other map.
yeah, absolutely, exactly. It's only Hanamura. It's like it's a really, really niche superpower, like largely useless.
Yeah, but that one time.
You're like this
That one
absolute,
time.
like really D-grade
Oh,
comic book
man.
character, but like you weren't good enough even to get a Netflix show, let alone a movie.
Look, I'm not
but-
going to be on the Avengers, but I might get a desk job. So-
Yeah. You're not on the Avengers. You're not on the Defend. You're like, yeah. You're like, you're the receptionist at Shield.
I'll take it. That doesn't sound too bad to me. All right, but it is going to be Hanamura, and look, as previously mentioned, AHQ do like this map a lot. Famously, they were the team that first beat Blank in a match in OPC Season 1, which included Hanamura. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Hanamura was the map that really sealed it, and that was the map that they won to really... If
Win.
my memory is correct. Yeah, they
They
won it by
to win.
winning it.
Yeah.
This is the map they won on to win against.
Yeah. So they won the map by winning it, and in winning it, won the match. That's accurate. That's how they won.
100% accurate.
I know. I was there. Actually, I wasn't. I wasn't there that weekend.
Were you not?
No, I was at IEM that weekend.
Oh,
That was the weekend of IEM
a
Sydney.
traitor. That's the wrong game. Just kidding.
Those were great games. But I mean, I did actually watch the game, so in another sense, I was there. I was there in spirit, if not in desk. So let's actually talk about Hanamura in all seriousness. This is one of the maps where we see the least Sombra. In fact, really, we don't see any Sombra at all. It's also one of the few maps we were still seeing Zarya during the very dive-heavy meta, especially on point B. So the interesting thing with that is we haven't really seen AHQ pulling out much Zarya Reinhardt, but we know that they really can pull out strong Zarya play. So I'm curious above all else as to what they are going to use on the defense, because I actually think this is one map where they specifically have a lot of options and ones that they've been practicing for a lot longer than some of these other teams.
Well, actually, this is one of the maps where you can open with the Widowmaker, and we have actually seen Hiki be the Widowmaker play. If
We
that's
have.
the case. This is another map where you do play Torbjorn, and usually Crappy would be that guy too. But that's not
Yeah.
going to be the case
Instead,
for either picks.
they are going to run the most normal team comp ever.
And that's fine too,
Yeah, they're
because they've been winning on that, and again, don't fix what...
And actually completely matched by Mega Thunder. In fact, like the exact same positions on the top right and left of your screen. That's spicy. Let's see how the defense plays out now for AHQ, or indeed how the offense plays out for Mega Thunder. Interesting
fine for
position.
Mega.
Yeah, this is absolutely fine. Interesting position taken by AHQ, because actually they're the ones who have to commit to the point at some point.
Wow, how do you see through the flowers now?
I don't know. He has, it's the visor.
That's what a visor does in the game.
Trades with Moffat though, and Moffat will have the longer walk back. So if they can pick up a few more and actually hit Apudo in a safer spot than Dizzy right now, given that Dizzy had to abandon that high ground, and that could be all they need. Indeed, it is as they convert onto Dizzy. But Carries gets a double onto Graceful and Elk. AHQ are actually in this without supports right now, and that could give AHQ the opportunity to dive onto Apudo, but still kind of struggling, really going blow for blow here. That does waste Mega Thunder's time, so either they should back off here and fully regroup, or they can just get a bunch of extra kills right now, and it would be fine, but they are going to go ahead and take it
So I
back.
think for Mega Thunder there, the goal was to get at least 1/3, so that's partly the reason why they stay. Also, if you do lose your supports, you have to get aggressive very quickly and make trades that are significant.
Yeah, just go ahead and boost the Tracer. It's a sound barrier to come out now. White loses the mech in among the Chaos to Rapid's Pulse Bomb. And really, Apudo hasn't been able to pull much weight here. This is going to be the ultimate out of Eric, and he has just buffered it away from the fight. Goes down
really?
to... Yeah, that was really unfortunate. He could, like, see it as he was slowly setting down towards the earth, but that's, again, being repelled. And actually, Titawat committing his ult as well. Mega Thunder are really struggling to get a foothold in this fight.
This has been a pretty quick fight so far. It doesn't feel like 2 minutes have been gone because it's been a super action-packed filled 2 minutes. That being said, though, AHQ did spend a long time playing on top of rooftops, and that was a good sort of way for Mega to find location to get in there, but eventually they do get surrounded. AHQ don't have any ultimates, which gives Mega Thunder an opportunity.
Back onto that same high ground. They're enjoying that positioning. Here we go. Moffat needing to find a good pulse on here. They've isolated Eric. That's a good stick. Oh, actually wasn't quite a stick there. But they've got themselves that third that they have been looking for this whole time. AHQ do need to actually get onto this point itself. They've given up 2/3 now as they find it. Oh, actually just shy of 2/3. Now Apudo opening out with the tactical visor. Let's see what he's able to get with that. Moffat and Rapid both down already, but Apudo is not really finding much here at all, while Dizzy is still kind of having a bit of time on the side here. Mega are going to have to kind of pull back a moment and regroup, then go back in, but they need to still get kills. Otherwise, it's all going to be for naught.
This is a stalemate because both sides just can't get any further kills after the Traces went down. Maybe a good, what
There
it
we
is,
go.
now you get a kill.
That's what they need, but they're also committing the nano boost onto Titawa just to make sure it's a closeout. He needs to use his ult here maybe to live. Actually, just barely gets away. Right into a self-destruct. He's going to be fine, though. They are going to finally get themselves a cap here with just under a minute remaining. Still plenty of time to cap out the second point as well. Just getting the extra kills into AHQ is really giving them more ult charge here.
You know what? That was kind of one off the back of a really well-placed pilot grenade from Graceful, because just as I was saying, look, they need to find an opening here. Graceful throws one over the side, catches a lot of members of AHQ. That's the go button for Mega Thunder. And actually, that momentum hasn't stopped. They're going to go into the Cat B now before AHQ even set up. That's important.
With a lot of ultimates as well, a good couple of early picks could be all they need to open this one wide and get at least a third, if not more. So let's see how this plays out now. Moffat's searching for it. The sound barrier ends so they can try and find the way. And there we go. Pick onto Rapid. Aputo gets one. And here's the Tactical Visor up on this high ground. He actually gets bumped down, but that gives him better eye lines to this pilot form. Diva of Hee gets dove a little bit, but they're fairly safe still. They're on the point. Now there's the first third. Eric is miles away from this one. He's not actually contesting the point. That gives them a second third. Where are the members of AHQ? They're finally coming back out the base. They are at least a full 6, but Eric loses the ultimate now towards the end as he picks Graceful. May just get Elk as well, but no, not quite, and he goes down. They're still currently even, and Crappy's getting pressured. He finally picks off Elk, and now Mega without the healers may not quite be able to get it over the line, may just barely be repelled, and indeed, as Dizzy and Rapid get kills, that looks to be the case, but that really came down to the wire for AHQ.
And I think, you know, Eric living there just by the skin of his teeth. I mean, you had a nice, well-placed sound barrier come out from Crappy to save everyone, really give AHQ a lot of space to play with. I put it on the low ground as well. If he was on the high ground, probably a little bit safer. I don't think it was really him at the end of the day. Really just came to AHQ getting the picks when they needed them. Mega, though, 97.3. I think you've got to be happy with that.
You've absolutely got to be happy with that. And they've still got the ultimates that they can just kind of go for a repeat here. AHQ should be a little bit more set up this time around, but they're still having a hard time stopping Mega Thunder from getting into the position they want. And now with Kerry's early pick by Moffat there, he's a little low himself, but there we go. The recall to keep himself alive for now. They de-mech the Diva. Doesn't get back into it as he commits the self-destruct. It will kill a Pulo. That is crucial. And Dizzy is able to retreat. They're just kind of trading even now. Pick off on Erican and Crappy. They need Rapid to really pull a lot of weight here, but there is the sound barrier in among this as well. De-meching White. That's a good way to go for them to stabilize. And Dizzy getting White in the pilot form as well. They should again be able to stabilize.
I don't know about this nano.
Yeah, thanks to Dizzy and Rapid, they are able to stabilize. Yeah, not sure about the nano commit from Graceful, and that is another hold from AHQ.
And another ultimate down the drain for Mega. Unfortunately, they had a pretty good run through there. Not quite as good as the previous push. They've really forced out a lot of big ultimates from the AHQ side as well. Carries, I think that nano boost onto Rapid actually did a lot of work. Kept Rapid into the game. Made sure he was contested. De-mech'd White as well. Then got the kill onto White eventually. For Mega Thunder, got to find a different opening here. You got 2 minutes remaining. 97.3 is good, but it's not a cap.
Yeah, 97.3 is like a radio station. That's what that sounds like.
Hanamura, 97.
97.3. Hanamura. All right, there we go. They've even got a jingle. Dizzy, by the way, has gone onto this Doom because this is interesting. He was doing so well on the Soldier, but the pick on Moffat means that they're going to be fine for now.
And another back off, so get 30 seconds wiped off that clock, and this is about the stage of the game where you do have to get a
Dizzy,
little bit
you do
concerned.
not need healing. You have 250 out of 250.
No, I mean, you're Doomfist. You can get more than 250. We know that.
This is the funniest thing. His health resets and he immediately goes, I need healing. And he does need healing now with only 27 health as a retreat to a health pack. No follow-up to close out the kill just yet. And AHQ sending Eric up, but they lose Crappy. Aputo's kind of in the position he wants. They finally respond to him, but they can't quite close him out once again. And how often is this going to happen? Mega Thunder are now set up as they would like as they go ahead and commit to the point. Oh, that's a good sleep onto Titawa, and they just leave him be as Aputo does finally get picked by Eric. Rapid finds Moffat too, and it looks like it'll be another stabilization out of AHQ. Suddenly, Mega only have time for one last push if they are going to cap out.
And like Coach Nentor said it, but we've been trying out Doomfist strats, and we've been trying it out on both players, it seems, Rapid and now Dizzy. This is far more comfortable for me. I wasn't really liking it the other way around, but Tracer, Doomfist, yeah, I think AHQ can make it work, and they are making it work, at least for the time being.
It's like wife swap.
On your own team, sure.
Yeah.
Dizzy and Aputo just get up from their seats and go to the other seats.
Yeah, it's exactly. Seat swap. Double sound barrier out, and this is already actually only one sound barrier. Sorry, there is no Lucio on AHQ, but there is a Transcendence that was used. But Rapid's dead thanks to a Puto. They do trade back onto Graceful. Elk is still alive. That's so crucial for them. That one healer is going to have to pull a lot of weight. White throws out the self-destruct onto the point and forces Dizzy away, but he is crucially alive as he commits his own self-destruct. But a Puto gets the tech visor as no one is on the point. I don't know how. Everyone was standing there. That was spicy.
There was a self-destruct right at the end there from Kiki, which I believe forced people off.
That must have been it.
Somebody should have bit the bullet and said, look, I'm going to be the one that
I'll
dies
do
to
it.
this,
I'll die.
just so that we continue on the cat.
Yeah, at any rate, that was about to go very well for Mega Thunder. They had a Puto in the right position. They did have the tactical visor had killed he wasn't getting back in the mix, but yeah, somehow no one on the point right at the end there. But at any rate, 97.3% is what they had got it up to before that. Hanamura Air. And we'll have to see if AHQ can match up.
And I think, you know, the reason I mentioned before, 97.3, you got to be happy with that is even if you don't cap out.
Sorry, was that 97.3? Was that the percentage? Was it 97.3?
Yeah, and you got to be happy with that because it's as close to getting it's basically getting a full cap. So even if you do not get the full cap out, you have something where this is now a playable, defensible position for a team like Mega Thunder. And so far, I think at least when we consider it wasn't. I don't know.
That was a really interesting fake through the Tachimaru. That really confused me for a moment.
My ultimate is charging.
How even is that?
I have no idea. Is that an advertisement for like Rocket League
That's
or something?
That's a Lucio ball.
Yeah. Thing is, it actually just makes me think of Rocket League. So I guess it's an internet cafe. So or an arcade.
Well, there is an arcade in Hanamura. We do know about that. What I don't like is the rampant vandalism that everyone has against arcades.
Just, yeah, I mean,
not here. Like I don't care about the fences, but the arcades, man. Like don't touch the arcades.
I absolutely
leave the arcades alone.
Love the arcades.
They didn't do anything to you.
Leave the arcades alone. That's a campaign that that may have a limited amount of success, but. Here now is the push for AHQ, 97.3%. That's the percent that they have to beat percent. And let's see how they go on this point A attack, because they held up Mega Thunder for a very long time.
Triple DPS on the Mega
yeah,
and look for them to get really aggressive.
Picked. Yeah, and that's exactly what you expect out of triple DPS. And they're actually positioned the exact same place AHQ were.
Oh, that rocket could have done
that
some
nearly
damage.
Did it for Elk.
Dizzy, just even on his way down, it's just like a parting gift. It's like, I'll see you next flight. Like a rocket.
I really like this flavor of pizza, I'm sorry.
Damn it.
Alright, well, back to the game. Back to the game. Mega Thunder still onto this defense so far. 1 minute off the clock for AHQ Esports. Nothing in the way of ultimates just yet for either side. Prudo and Moff are going to be looking for those very quickly. I think if AHQ play somewhat of an aggressive game themselves, they can really dislodge these DPS because you're really lacking the bonus healing on the Mega side. So your damage from AHQ side, that sticks a lot more.
And that's exactly what you need against triple DPS. We often talk about its explosivity and how it can go off in your face as well as it can go off at the enemies. And picking out a Prudo is a great start, but Titawat with that nano boost, they're just doing a good amount of work here. The rest of Mega Thunder on the point, getting aggressed upon though. Moffat and Elk are going to have to do a ton of work because AHQ, they want to fight to the last here. And they have done a good job of dislodging this DPS. Tactical visor by Elk here. They're actually going to use it to close off this last little bit here. I don't disagree with it, but I think it could have been held onto given that Titawat was rejoining them. At any rate, they do hold once again.
A good time on A is going to be really important here because, B is not a full cap, which means for AHQ, look, they can actually do that. We don't have to go into a time bank. That's really important to note. Dizzy now attack visor.
Look
a lot of low members on Mega.
Titawat went down during the Primal Rage. Pudo is too low to come in with this Dragon Blade. They're actually on the cusp of having to see this point. No one from Mega is touching it. Finally, Moffat gets onto it as Pudo has his health back, but they haven't really got any extra tanks there. Titawat is still trying to rejoin the team. They need a lot out of this, but there's already a Transcendence to counter out. He finds Dizzy, but he's not found anything else, and he's about to lose his life if he's not careful. Indeed, he does. You can't deflect the Tesla cannon. Who's going to contest now? Graceful, the sleep dart gets eaten. He goes down. The cap is through, and now that they're all dead, they're not going to get a good setup here on point B. AHQ can snowball.
And they're a team that we know snowballs really hard as well. The only thing that's stopping them from doing this is the fact that Dizzy has to run back from the initial spawn and not the B spawn. But we are getting kills in this already. Dizzy's about to be in position soon. Come on, Dizzy, just get to the point already. Your team is really waiting.
I'm coming, guys. He's not as young as he used to be. Poor old soldier. Poor Jack Morrison. But Mega, they're holding out the point for now. So this isn't an immediate snowball. You're right, Dizzy not being there was a big proponent of that. White trading 1-for-1 here is plenty fine for Mega. This is really what they need to kind of stabilize.
Now
But Dizzy suddenly going off, yeah. They need a lot more than that to stabilize now. Aputo does retreat. Oh dear, I'm a liar. Could not get behind that column. And actually, that's the first third. This is a really big opportunity to snowball. There it is, 97.3. That's all they need to get. Oh, they're at 85.0, which isn't as good a radio station sound. And AHQ desperately trying to hold on here. White demexed. They may just get the next round of kills. Mega need to get something out of this Dragon Blade, but there's a sound barrier to counter it as Eric goes off. They've got the last few kills through, and it's looking like they're going to do it. That is indeed it, and they're going to take out Mega Thunder on Hanamura.
Not a completely unsurprising result. Look, we know AHQ are very proficient on this map. Like, even with Dizzy coming late to the party, as soon as he got there, the fireworks went off. I don't even know, what are those little... what are those things where you pull the thing and or confetti? I don't know. Confetti cannon, whatever it is. Dizzy's got a confetti gun.
What are those things where you pull the thing?
I just forgot for a moment.
What happened there at the end was startling because Mega Thunder didn't get any kills, even when it was actually even numerically. They even had ultimates. They weren't getting anything out of the ultimates they were committing. They weren't even getting straight up kills with their DPS. And honestly, I'm surprised AHQ were able to do that. It's not that they were like playing badly and going unpunished. It's just how long that fight went out for, with Mega Thunder really just getting nothing.
And Mega Thunder did get a couple of return kills. Like, it wasn't like zero, but after White got his initial return kill, nothing else happened after that. And I think that was about the moment when Dizzy joined the fight anyway. And as soon as Dizzy joined the fight, because everyone was so committed to what was happening on the point, and Mega were already at a stage where, oh, Dizzy's not actually here. Well, we don't see the soldier. Well, we're not gonna. You can't put pressure on someone that you don't even know is there. The timing of Dizzy coming in was a little bit random. So the fact that he came in late almost worked in AHQ's favor, but
in a weird way.
But only because AHQ stayed alive and kept the fight going long enough that that was relevant. So then he came in, got a bunch of kills, uncontested. Too late for Mega to do anything about him. Can't even do anything about people on the point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it almost feels a bit inevitable by that stage.
Yeah, certainly. It was, on the whole, just a really rough fight for Mega because the way the kills kind of came through at the end of AHQ capping point A was one part of that. But then you kind of mentioned this, because Dizzy wasn't quite there, there was this window to stabilize, and then Titawat gets picked, and just a couple of little things went wrong. It was really surprising.
Let's take a look at the replay now. This is going to be the first push on through. First defense by AHQ. So Mega, this was a very long fight that lasted at least till the 3-minute mark, and both sides just trading quite evenly here. And you actually do see that eventually Mega Thunder don't bother with Dizzy and the rest of the high ground. They just sort of charge in on the point, and by this time around, AHQ do close the door. They do get that surround. Dizzy going down here, but I don't think it matters. That was a double kill that I think turned everything.
Yeah, and funny enough, to come out of the support is pretty startling. By the way, we've seen a lot of bio grenade kills so far this tournament, but you're completely right. Was where it started to turn around just a little bit. They got themselves that little bit of extra time and were actually able to rebuff Mega Thunder without them even getting a third, which was quite surprising given how long they were on the point for. And AHQ, their initial position didn't really buy them much. It was actually very well played that they were able to abandon that position and wrap all the way around to the other side of the point without losing anyone, because a lot of teams would kind of muck up that part of it and then really fight to the last to rebuff Mega Thunder over and over again. Their own defense on point A was really, really strong.
And Mega only had a few moments there. As soon as both their supports went down, look, you know they wanted to get that 1/3, so they stayed. So if you're going to stay, though, they have a very short timing window to make a trade onto another member, to make sure that the healing difference doesn't really factor in, because the longer the fight goes, the more the lack of healing really starts to weigh in on your team. And suddenly the healing on the other side puts everyone up, but you don't have any healing. So, I mean, all the damage that AHQ are pumping out, that sticks. Now let's take a look at the next one.
We talk about that a lot on point B, and that's exactly where we're going to see it here. They get very, very aggressive, and we started to see Elk and Graceful both die quite a bit, even when they were getting good trades, but this was not actually one of those fights. This was a fight where Mega were just not really able to fight their way out of the position they were in. They committed the sound barrier so that they could try and get into position. They start making some headway, but here's the thing. They don't convert that into the extra kills, even when they're getting a couple more here. This was the closest they came to capping, but they hadn't quite got enough pressure on the point by this point to really hold out. And then eventually, Oputo did actually get dislodged on the high ground. AHQ played patiently enough that they were able to have a full 6 respawn, and then this is where the healers start to die. Elk is having to stay on the point to keep his team topped off, but that puts him in danger. And with Graceful dead, the moment Elk dies, all the extra damage that these remaining members of AHQ are able to throw out, like you said, sticks. And that's why Rapid and Dizzy, even with all that low health, suddenly start coming up big in the kill feed, because all of the damage they're pumping out, even when they're on their last legs, is sticking and it's turning into kills.
Right, and Crappy Sound Barrier was a big part of that as well, that really helped them get into it. But now the final, or maybe the final replay, who knows, this is going to be the attack on the other side, AHQ coming in, and you'll notice Dizzy is kind of late to the fight here. He should be joining at any sort of moment. Rapid does get killed, so we talk about the fact that it wasn't just a one-man show. You had trades coming on the other side, but Dizzy, if you look in the bottom right, he's actually set up very well with teammate carriers on the top side there. No one's sort of really contesting anymore. Right at the last few moments, if I'm not mistaken, there should be some members still coming out, but the area control is so good here.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It's the area control. They finally send someone up to try and dislodge Dizzy, but at that point, it doesn't really matter, because the rest of this rest of this Mega squad doesn't really know exactly who to go for. Aputo wants to make something happen with his Dragon Blade, but he's like, okay, who do I kill? All the tanks are right here on the point. I'll get killed by Eric if I stick around for too long. That's where all the squishy supports are. Or I could go off the point and try and kill Dizzy, but then I'm not contesting it, and if my team dies, we lose the game. And that hesitation from him actually cost him his life there. And that's very rare we see that from
Well, the big thing is you needed trades, and that's what Mega didn't have in the end there. And the sound barrier, once again, from Crappy really secures it. And even if they got past the sound barrier, you then saw the transcendence from carries as well. So they were stacked with support ultimates, they were stacked with healing, and sustain is always the biggest tool that an attacking team needs to take a Cat B, because sustain is usually what is lacking when they fail. That's when the defender respawn advantage really overwhelms you. But if you can out-sustain that, then you can stay in, you can actually outlast the defenders instead, which is one of the win conditions for an attacking team. That and the fact that, look, you have your main DPS Dizzy, uncontested, Tita tried to jump in to no avail, and now we are on to the 4th map.
Yeah, and this is going to be Mega's pick there, taking this one to Watchpoint, Gibraltar, and need to even up the series on it. So we're not going to get one of those situations where teams just automatically win on the opponent's map pick, because of course AHQ picked up Hanamura just been, putting them 2-1 in the series. This is still very winnable for Mega, and we talk about that Lijiang. It really was Mega Esports start to finish, but AHQ seem to have hit a bit more of a stride since then, and we even saw the Doomfist that plagued them in Lijiang actually come out on Dizzy instead of Rapid. On Hanamura, too much
brief
greater
moments.
effect. Yeah, too greater effect.
It's a greater effect, but also in a vacuum. I think that opinion may change if Dizzy pulls it out now.
Yeah, maybe.
Into another map and into sort of an open space, because when you're the defender and you're only just playing one camp and there's not, in terms of objectives, there's not that much to worry about. You're waiting for the other team to come to you. You can just sort of sit there and do your thing. That's when it's easy to look good. In fact, I think Rapid would even look very good in that same situation. So I'm still not convinced, I'm still not really sold yet that HQ can pull this off. That being said, this is now the opportunity to maybe show and prove me wrong in that department. And on the other side, Nitor talked a lot about Okudo's Doomfist. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's quite a good point. You do mention that. And by the way, as well, we did see Mega Thunder pulling out a triple DPS, which means we saw, I believe it was Elk here was playing at the Soldier 76. So, Watchpoint Gibraltar, a bit of a different beast, different kettle of fish, as it were. We saw an interesting match between Hong Kong Attitude and Flashlights happen on this very map. And wasn't Hong Kong Attitude, this is back in Season 1, was it Hong Kong Attitude? I think it was Hong Kong Attitude AHQ, where we had like the world's most disastrous Watchpoint Gibraltar. You remember that one?
That was early on. That was super
That was
early on.
early, and it was back in Season 1, but like, I think that's
whose team.
It was like the worst game of professional Overwatch I've ever seen. As bad as that is to say, like
Okay.
there were ultimates committed in like directly into walls instead of into people. Like points
All right,
not being
let me-
contested.
I'll say it like
it was a clown fiesta.
Okay, I'll say it like this. It wasn't the worst, but it was the most entertaining.
Yeah,
Look,
that's a
that's-
good point. I've seen people play Overwatch to a worse level, but yeah, entertaining
Like, it wasn't,
would be the
it wasn't
right way
that,
to
it
put
wasn't that bad because there was still, you know, it was still teams doing things. It was, you know, people were getting it done at the end of the day, but some of the individual stuff was, you know, pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's hard to even call it bad.
Go back and watch
Honestly-
that VOD because it actually is such a
It
hilarious
was,
game.
almost, it was almost unfortunate because it was one of those moments where you got guys like K4 who's no longer at HKA,
Yeah.
who pulls out attack visor and then suddenly everyone runs away and he's stuck on the shuttle looking at no one. And that's
Yeah.
the kind of funny stuff I'm looking at. That's not necessarily bad.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate. But this is funny. Curious is going to come out, if
Nope.
not just briefly.
Yeah, who would
onto-
but instead,
what does he want to do here?
much more sensibly onto Bastion. He's going to go ahead onto Zenyatta here. And,
Onto the other robot.
Dizzy running an attack
Third
Sombra
robot,
here.
yeah.
The third robot. Yeah, Dizzy running an attack Sombra here. This is not unprecedented, but it will be interesting to see how they pull this off. But
Omega.
I always find Watchpoint Gibraltar entertaining, no matter what happens.
Omega's running the same triple DPS again defensively that we saw on the old Hanamura. So far they are picking up the early kills. We're really waiting for Dizzy to get this EMP up and running. That's when you should start seeing a little bit more explosive gameplay out of AHQ. But in the meantime, it's about charging ults.
Important pick onto Elk there. One of those 3 DPS is off the table. Actually means they're a little bit squishy now. They only have the 1 healer. And you're really seeing that in Aputo getting pressured off to the side. They're trying to re-aggress to close out some extra kills, but just means Moffat kind of goes down in that dive. Titawat did get Dizzy. They will get time for Aputo or Moffat to rejoin the fight here, so they'll get another defense, but that is good momentum for AHQ now.
I think for AHQ as well, you know, momentum, yes, but now also ultimates, yes, as well. If you play this slowly, which AHQ kind of are, you do outweigh the healing power of Mega Thunder because you're running both 2 healers and then also Dizzy on the Sombra with the health packs as well. So you're just really choking Mega out of healing right now.
Mushroom and pepperoni. Good EMP commit is just honestly forcing Mega Thunder back. This is the weakness really of triple DPS is you often get shut down quite a lot. As I say that Aputo does get the trade kills that they kind of need. Now let's see if he commits a Dragon Blade because he's got an extra one. Eric rejoins the fray here, but actually his team was dying on the payload, so they didn't get distance off that, which was a little unfortunate for him. That's a good pick though.
Moffat's definitely picking up pace now. It's definitely still... This is not conclusive just yet because that EMP...
Well, it is conclusive in that the payload hasn't moved, but it's not conclusive in terms of which team has won it out now.
You expected a little bit more out of the EMP play, and I think that was the play that AHQ were banking on for them to give them the cap. Not so much just yet as Elka's going to come in with this nano visor,
Nano boost,
but not catching anyone.
What he has caught is time. Like he's bought more time, and actually what that does do is it gives Mega Thunder a bit of breathing room to properly set back up.
And it wastes a lot of AHQ time as well because we're waiting for this next EMP. You know that's the engagement sort of timing that AHQ are waiting for. As soon as they get the EMP, that's when they want to go in. Before that, it's just waiting till they get it, or trying to find pickouts where they can. If they can get a good hack onto someone like Moffat, get a good hack onto someone like Aputo, that could be a kill that could go somewhere, but otherwise, you just have to wait.
Interesting thing here is Mega Thunder, even when they've lost one of their 3 DPSs, it hasn't blown up completely in their face. Let's see if I can be proven wrong though. Aputo is going to need to pull a lot of weight here with this Dragon Blade, and we've yet to see him really go off with it. Is Elk also getting picked now? He does catch Dizzy, and this could be his moment to go. They've lost White's mech, and they can't just cede this point. He's going to have to go if at all, but he's not got a good opportunity to do so, and it looks like he should just hold on to it now as the rest of his team is a little bit too dead for his liking, and the cap will go through. A lot of time spent by AHQ there. Mega Thunder really held them up, and now the hangar could be where they make their stand.
And this is the thing because, look, Titawat might even go down.
Oh, wow.
This would be disastrous.
Oh,
for,
Eric's going to
for
follow
Mega
it up.
Thunder. There's a lot of players talk here. This is starting to look like Numbani all over again if AHQ get any more kills. They got a lot of ultimates coming back, and Mega saved a lot of ultimates. AHQ saved a lot of ultimates, and this is favoring AHQ because they should have spent the cap, but they didn't.
This is reminding me a lot of Hong Kong Attitude versus Flash Wolves. This is what Flash Wolves did to Hong Kong Attitude, what AHQ are doing now. Then Hong Kong Attitude had to come back in and take the space that Flash Wolves have occupied. AHQ have the hangar controlled. They've just killed Moffat on re-entry here. They had pressured out White just a moment ago with that Diva. He got hacked by Dizzy, who is now converted onto Elk. AHQ own this hangar, and Mega Thunder have to fight their way into it while also trying to stop the payload. And they're just not converting the kills. They're really struggling to break in. The only one they got was Dizzy, and now they're getting completely closed out on and may just have to cede this.
And that was a good EMP by Dizzy as well that just sort of stopped Mega Thunder in their tracks, and we've seen this Nano Boost go into Apura. He didn't use the Dragon Blade. Finally, now he does use the Dragon Blade, and Curious has been waiting this whole time because he saved the Transcendence just for Apura.
Right into Transcendence. That was very unfortunate, and while that was happening as well, the rest of his team was just getting picked apart. Now Aputo's going to follow them. They're still putting up resistance, but right now it's token resistance. The Kappa's going to go through an AHQ looking a lot smoother than they did on that first cap.
That was definitely absolutely right.
Or indeed Mega Thunder looking a lot rougher.
Why? No, I actually want to give to AHQ because you're probably right on both sides. That really does say AHQ moving through the hangar. The results really speak for themselves there, and they didn't have to spend too much once again. They just had the right amount of ultimates. The EMP came out at the right time. Kerry saved the Transcendence for a very specific play from Pudo. That worked out as well. Now you're seeing big change-ups from Mega Thunder on Cap A, triple DPS, Elk now back onto the Lucio, Pudo onto the Soldier.
Committing into the fight. Dizzy again, getting a lot of good hacks onto White here. Lijiang picking off Aputo as well. The trade back onto carries is good, but they're going to need a lot more as Moffat's getting pressured out. Does not have health backs to retreat to either, because Dizzy has full control over them. And again, the hack is out onto Titawat now this time. There's still no EMP being committed. It's not up just yet. So honestly, Titawat's going to have an even harder time staying mobile. Good stick though, the double onto Crappy and Dizzy. That's what they needed to stabilize here, and AHQ are going to beat back. Sorry, Mega Thunder are going to beat back the tide.
A nice double kill there. Crappy kind of ran it into Dizzy, who was saying like, please get away from me. And then they hold each other's hands as they walk back.
It's like Crappy was going like, help me, help, help, help. And Dizzy's like, no, get away.
Hack it off me, hack it off. But they couldn't do that. That's not part of the game.
Get it off, get it off, get it off, get it off.
AHQ though, 2 minutes now remaining. This is still defendable for Mega Thunder because they have stabilized. They didn't get a chance to do that into the hangar, but the cart hasn't moved for some time now. In fact, the cart distance.
EMP though, that's a great EMP plus the sound barrier for AHQ. Mega Thunder have weathered the storm a little bit. They've lost 2, but it wasn't a real clean sweep here. They've actually retreated quite nicely, but they do need to get conversion kills themselves. Need to trade back, and then now they lose Elk, so it's big payload distance, to be honest with you. Mega Thunder, there we go. Aputo opening up with the tactical visor, but he's just not getting anything. Keris has that Transcendence again, ready for Aputo, and Rapid is still going off in this kill feed. Graceful gonna get picked off on the backside of the point now. Pulse Bomb out for good measure, and there is just no one from Mega to really contest. It's looking like it's all over, but the crying, the response kills, the trade kills are just not there for Mega Thunder. Now swapping onto these last-ditch heroes like the Mei out of Graceful, Aputo onto the Doomfist as well. They desperately need kills, but they're still getting picked off. White demeched, Aputo goes down, and like I said, all over but the crying, and now it is indeed about to be over.
I should be getting to cap at any moment now. There were 55 seconds remaining on that clock. I guess the takeaway here is, despite how dominant it looked for AHQ, it's actually not that fast. 55 seconds remaining is rather close to overtime. It's unreasonably close to overtime considering how smooth the final 2 capture points were for AHQ. But then you have to look at Cap A. It wasn't so fast. That's where they wasted a lot of time. It actually looks like the opposite of Numbani, where Numbani, the first 2 caps were really close, and then suddenly the last cap was really slow. This time around, AHQ's just struggled on A.
That's what I was going to say. If anything, the takeaway should be Mega Thunder performed a lot better than they did on Numbani. And also their 3rd-point defense on Watchpoint Gibraltar wasn't bad either. Technically, actually, I wouldn't even say it was the weakest. I'd say the hangar phase was the weakest.
For sure.
Absolutely. So, yeah, on the whole, not falling prey to the same result as Numbani, but arguably falling prey to some similar mistakes, especially on that middle phase.
So Cap 3, you know, despite, look, it looked like a slow roll. It looked like slowly AHQ were getting progress, but the fact was AHQ were losing time because Mega were really slowing them down at every juncture of Cap 3. And that really paid out at the end of the day. Despite them getting fully camped out, 55 seconds, again, not the best time. They got under a minute. You never want to finish the map with just 1 minute remaining. You want to have a little bit more than that to play with when you go to time bank.
Do you want some pizza? It's getting cold. Notice you just haven't gone for a slice yet. I mean, your time is running out. Yeah. Especially if Mega Thunder even this up, like, you're not going to be able to eat pizza until after Game 5. Just saying. Now's your chance.
So, again, 55 seconds is the time here, and I think for Mega Thunder, look, they had, I think Numbani is a very good comparison here because it is the Escort. Look, Assault just doesn't have that sort of factor to it. When we look at Numbani, AHQ had, or rather Mega Thunder had a really good run on both A and B as well. So let's look to see if they can do that again.
And out the gate, they're going to need to get a lot of momentum and interesting triple DPS with Widowmaker. So actually White playing the Widowmaker, so it's not going to be Elk on that third DPS this time around. Single tank.
Single tank, double healer. Look, Mega have been pulling out a lot of different stuff here, and actually seeing White on something other than D.Va. This is the newest player of the team. It's interesting, it's very good to see him maybe shine on a different hero, but he has to shine first.
Yeah, has to shine. That's the key thing there, and popping the damage boost onto the Widowmaker as well to try and just get the body shots, but it's actually not White going off, it's the rest of the team. Moffat especially really closing out these kills now. Puto going to dislodge the healers from the high ground, giving respect as well to the potential carrier's headshot, and is in fact going to deflect one back at him for good measure. White does go down in the dive there to Eric, as does Aputo, but the payload has been moving for most of this time. Crappy is coming in last ditch, nearly had the res actually. That could have been a bit of a swing point there, but Mega Thunder are going to be able to reinforce here as Pulse Bomb closing out on Rapid. They should be able to get this cap over in a moment here, surely.
It's really close, but remember, Crappy has a res here, so if anything really goes wrong, as long as Crappy doesn't die, I think ASQ still stay in this game. But White hasn't been dealt with this. Suddenly now White is getting a lot of kills. That's the res.
That's a tempo res, yeah, just because of those shots going off. Mega actually backed off. They weren't quite on the payload itself, and now they actually have an opportunity to get aggressive themselves. They pick off Crappy, and they can have their own res if they want to commit it, but they don't actually need to because they're getting the kills through anyway. And actually, AHQ, they did burn a little bit more time, but what they really did was gave Mega Thunder a lot more ult shard.
And that's definitely a much quicker A, and we already talked about this. If you compare it to Numbani, Mega had a good A, Mega had a good B. They got to now get that really good B, and if they want to win, they're going to have to get a good C as well.
Unfortunately, Moffat's Pulse Bomb doesn't quite connect onto anything, but they are really forcing AHQ a long way back. This is similar to what AHQ did to them, only not quite as dominating because they don't actually have the kills to really occupy this space. They're just kind of pushing forward and probing.
I think Omega as well, they're working a lot off of momentum. You'll see as soon as the momentum dissipates, I'm expecting White to go back onto the D.Va or something like that. Maybe that would be a good res. I'd probably solo res.
Oh, but he dies as the second person to die there. Did not get the chance to solo res, and it's so unfortunate because they just got the trade kill on Dizzy there as well. So it is going to be AHQ finding their feet for a moment here.
That's actually really big, and we talk about the fact that momentum has dissipated, and immediately White goes back onto that D.Va. That should have been the res. If the res came on through, Aputo would have obviously have come up, but then you keep on the pressure. You maintain that pressure onto AHQ. Do not allow them to set up. Do not allow them to stabilize. And right now, AHQ, full shuttle control, got all the high ground, and Mega have to break.
Yeah, and this is exactly what AHQ wanted. This is exactly what Mega weren't able to get on their offense. There's the res, but it only catches T2Wat, didn't catch Elk. And now Dizzy's just going to open up, re-kill T2Wat. He's occupying the kill feed in the wrong kind of way. Zaputo goes down. They do dislodge a couple of members of AHQ, but that was a very, very cheap hold for AHQ. That's a tempo res out of Crappy, actually. They don't, yeah. And I mean, if you're Mega, you're glad to get that one out of the defenders, but for the defenders, it just means that they're able to hold this position.
And this is now, you know, this is definitely not where you want to get stopped up because, look, ASU had a really smooth run through Hangar. If you're Mega, you don't want to be matching 55 seconds. In fact, you're actually risking getting less than that. You're actually risking getting full health if you're not careful. Big change-ups now for Mega Thunder. A couple of members now. You had White back on the Widow. He's on the D.Va. That's happened a while ago now. Elk now onto that Lucio. You do want to be playing this quite mobile gameplay style that Mega are doing, but Crappy. I was gonna say
there we are. That's the one who's been looking for this whole time. It also forces out the Transcendence, so that's actually a good amount to get out of the Dragon Blade. But T2Wat, even when the ult running is really getting his health pool burned down, needs to be very careful about it. Moffat as well needs to be careful. Does pick Eric. They get the payload underway. They need to convert a few more kills, but they have for the most part dislodged AHQ from the high ground. Crappy is going to rejoin the fight. The self-destruct out from He. Doesn't quite catch anyone, but has bought them time to kind of regroup a little bit. Now they get aggressive back onto Mega Thunder. T2Wat in trouble. It's going to be fine, and Apudo desperately trying to get Crappy. Does close it out. That's crucial. Here he demegs. Dizzy trying to turn it back around with the tactical visor. He's got Elk, but that's all he's going to get as he gets taken out by T1. This should be enough to get the payload to the cap. Whether or not they'll get it over the cap line is a different story. There will be a final contest from AHQ.
Gotta look for a stall here because Crappy's nearly at that res, and a big res play could really throw things off for Mega Thunder. Mega Thunder got more ultimate, so I'm still expecting Mega to get through this no matter what. The big thing for AHQ is get the ultimates out of Mega Thunder if they are going to cap it all.
The first one out will be the sound barrier. He's bought a ton of time on this point. Plenty of time, in fact, for, like you said, Crappy to come back in with the res. Now the Transcendence means they still don't close out on Hehe, but White does. That's got to be a res, surely. But, oh, a huge one. But Apudo's still alive, and he gets Rapid immediately after, plus Keras for good measure. The res was great, but Mega actually still had gas in the tank. It couldn't have come any later, that res, because Crappy was about to die. But you almost wish it could have been. They almost wish you could have lasted out the entirety of the Dragon Blade, and Mega will get the second point cap with good momentum.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because you almost expected Mega to get that through at the end of the day, because the only thing AHQ had to play off with was that res. Mega had so much more going on for them. So all AHQ needed to do there was make the res play, force a bunch of ultimates out of Mega Thunder, and now you can go for the stabilization, because if you stabilize for 2 minutes and a little bit, you suddenly win the game.
And speaking of stabilize, the pick on the Dizzy would be huge. Apudo really starting to hit his stride again with this Genji. Had just killed Eric not long before that. Now all they need is one good fight.
I think Mega Thunder need a little bit of time to build up on this as well.
Oh,
maybe
wow.
not, because if you can just get
Great
a
pick on
kill,
Keras. As the self-destruct out to stabilize, but they've already lost Crappy as well. They picked one on Graceful, but that might not be enough. He demech instantly, goes down. Eric only gets one, but it is Apudo who had Dragon Blade. That could be all they need as Dizzy opens up. What will he find? Moffat, that's huge. No more DPS for Mega. They're pushing this through exclusively with tanks and healers. They don't really have the ultimates to do so either, and AHQ with that respawn will start to stabilize here. Yeah, Keras indeed. Triple DPS. He's going to be the Doomfist now.
Man, Ninja's not kidding. Everyone's playing Doomfist on this team now. Crappy's going to jump on it next, if I'm not mistaken. And for Mega Thunder, that was a pretty strong push-up, but they still needed just a little bit more distance because they're running out of time here. 1 minute 11. I don't think they're going to camp within the 55, which means they're going to get less time than AHQ Esports. Still, you just don't want that to be. You don't want that going into time bank.
They need to get a good number of kills. Apudo finding Dizzy to start with is good. Again, Transcendence now from Graceful to keep them in this fight, and they're converting the kills. They need to close out on Hehe. Indeed, they do. Dizzy is now going to be the Doomfist for that extra contest. And speaking of contest, someone's able to stop up the payload for that entire time, which means even though they're getting those kills, they're not getting the distance for it. Finally starting to get the payload moving just a little bit, but they're really struggling. Rapid is just running them in circles. Self-destruct zones the remaining members of AHQ, but it's only zoning. Now they get a full run of respawns, but a good pick on the Dizzy. Mega need to keep killing these members as they come out of the base gates. Otherwise, AHQ can start to stabilize with these respawns. And where have Mega gone to? They're not even playing the payload right now. They're pulling right back because of Eric, and they're just losing time for it.
And they look like they're trying to reset here. Eric eventually gets punished. And here's the window for Mega Thunder. You got 2 kills. Kiri's still holding on to an ultimate here. You're waiting for the respawns. You will be now playing into the overtime, and that's where it gets really dangerous for the Mega Thunder team. A good string of kills here should secure it.
Yeah, Dizzy's dead. That's crucial for them. Crappy going down as well. Self-destruct, creating space. Rapid fighting Graceful, though. Apudo's dead before the Dragon Blade again, and suddenly they're in overtime. Where did all that time go? Where was that pressure when they had so many more kills out? Why are they so busy pulling back and pulling back and pulling back, and the overcaution costs them as there is no one left on the payload. Mega Thunder, after getting kill after kill after kill, didn't get the distance to reflect it, and AHQ getting away with murder.
And I think that actually says a lot more about AHQ because they held on to the contest on the cart. That was so important. Had any member gotten off the cart, if they just had one moment where people weren't contesting, suddenly they were at risk of actually getting a full cap out, and then we would be into the time bank. So well played by AHQ at the end of the day, and even plays like that massive res, look, they just wasted more time for Mega Thunder. Yeah, they got a full wipe, they got 2 team wipes in a row, but it's time that really made the difference at the end of the day. There it is, that big res.
Yeah, and Rapid was the only one, it seemed, who wasn't invulnerable at that specific moment, so that was really, really crucial. But yes, it is indeed AHQ, after dropping Lijiang Tower, pull it back to win the next 3. But I will be honest with you, all of them came close.
Absolutely, that could have gone either way at the end as well. I think for Mega Thunder, they came so close, but so close, like we've said already tonight, so close is oftentimes not quite good enough. Libyan Supreme versus Blank on King's Row. That was so close. That was not good enough for Libyan Supreme. So for AHQ, I still think it was well played by Mega Thunder, but a win is a win, and a well-deserved win, because I think AHQ played to the objective just slightly better at the end of the day. Time was the most valuable resource there, and time was lost heavily in the hangout. Like I mentioned, if Mega want to win this, they got to get a good A. They got a good A. They didn't get a good B though, and that was what made the difference, because AHQ did get a good B.
And it seems that middle phase of both Escort and Hybrid is something Mega Thunder are really struggling on in the defense. And it's not just one guy, but a lot of the visible effect is Titawat dying very far ahead of the rest of his team, and then the rest not quite being retreated to an adequately defensible spot, I suppose.
Take a look at the replay now. This is going to be in a later part of the game. We're already into the third cap of AHQ's attack. Now EMP did come out. Nice bio nade as well in response, but not quite enough. You see the EMP just does enough damage to really force positioning out. And this is the big difference. Look at the cart movement. The cart continues going. When it was AHQ's defense, they stopped the cart in the same position. And the objective, really at the end of the day, focusing on the objective, was the difference for me between AHQ and Mega.
And the other thing that Mega didn't do was focus on the objective right at the very end of their own push, when they had finally killed Rapid, who had been keeping the objective alive for so long for AHQ. Eric dove the backline. They all just kind of retreated. Like there was this moment, I was looking at it and I'm going, no one on AHQ is alive. Where is Mega Thunder? Why aren't they on the payload? And actually that could have been the seconds they needed to cap. But here, now that they are fully contesting the payload, it is all just down to sheer brawn, and it is AHQ who just continually had more of it. Much like what Mega Thunder, were doing on their own push. They were dominating the kill feed, but you're completely right. The difference was doing it to play for the objective and converting it into distance.
Because it was quite apparent that, look, in much of the later sections of that map, especially on Cap 3, especially on Mega's Cap 3, let's actually take a look at the replay now. Before we get to Cap 3, let's talk about Cap 1 just a little bit more, because this was when White was on that Widowmaker, and he did find some shots. And actually for AHQ, they struggled to deal with the triple DPS.
There was, however, I will say, a moment here, and we may go far enough in the fight to see it, where actually, again, there was this huge numerical superiority for Mega Thunder. AHQ actually weren't really in this area anymore. They'd kind of ceded it. They didn't really seem like they wanted to recontest. But actually, Mega didn't play for the payload. They did not play for the objective, having got the kills. It was just so happened to be that they then got more kills afterwards, so it worked out fine. But there were a good number of moments there. It was just a few seconds after where that replay ended. And then, you know, we also saw it later on in the map as well, both on attack and defense, where they just don't quite play for the payload itself. And I know it sounds really, really silly and really, really obvious, but you have to be able to do that if you are playing a payload-oriented game mode. If you are no good at contesting the payload and moving the payload when you have the ability to do so, it really doesn't matter how many kills you got.
Yeah, exactly. I think that made the difference, because Mega looked more dominant on the kill feed. They were getting way more kills, but after you get a string of kills, you got to translate that into actual objective movement, and they just didn't get as much of that as AHQ did. It's not to say they didn't get any, because they did get distance, but the distance compared to time, and this is where the more intricate details of the strategy of Overwatch is you really got to match distance. As we take a look at the next replay, you got to match objective to the time remaining.
And this is towards the end of their own push, so we may just see the very moment I was talking about. The kills really come through here. The early pick on Dizzy was a huge part of that. Look at how many kills they've got. Dizzy comes back in on the Doomfist, and now look, they spend so much time struggling to kill Rapid. Now Rapid is dead, right? Or rather, in a moment here, he will be dead. So they're still on the payload. They're doing a good job of keeping it contested here, but now he's finally dead. They move the payload, then look at what happens. Someone dives into the back line. There is a numerical superiority for Mega, and they all pull right the way back. No one is anywhere near the payload right now, and they just gave up the space. They had numerical superiority, they had the health pools, they had the ultimate advantage, and they didn't leverage them. They were too busy going, okay, let's maybe have this fight somewhere else. No, have the fight on the payload. You need to be able to convert immediately after winning the fight. You need to keep it rolling in front of their base gates and stop them from reinforcing. Otherwise, they're just gonna contest you to the grave. And that is ultimately what happened.
And they are still dominating the kill feed. Look, they actually are still getting a majority of kills here. I think maybe the self-destruct, okay, not the self-destruct, but Rapid killing Graceful does start the opposite now. So suddenly, this is when the kills stop for Mega Thunder. Before that, they were getting all the kills. I want to commend Rapid and also Erican at the start of the replay for holding the cart where it was. Imagine if that cart was so much closer to where the yellow rectangle is. That then might have been pressured for a win because they had so many kills. Mega had so many kills. It was like they wiped AHQ 3 times over.
Essentially. And that is what we talk about when we say defender's advantage. AHQ could get wiped basically 3 times over and still be able to come in at the last minute. Like, what that actually means is they got 3 opportunities to turn it back around. And it happened to be that one of those opportunities they got, the last one, was the one where they were able to turn it around. And the thing is, they only got 3 opportunities because Mega didn't convert on any of the earlier kill advantages they'd gained. There were times where there were only 2 members and they just weren't closing things out. They just weren't converting into distance.
That's half of it. The other half is actually AHQ playing the objective more.
Yeah.
So you would like to convert into objective, but AHQ are not going to let you because they're contesting the whole time. And that's why I got to commend Rapid and Eric in the earlier part of that replay. Right at the start, you saw, like, despite all the kills coming up Mega Thunder, Rapid, or rather it started with Eric and then Rapid picking up. Let's actually go to the play of the game now, going on to Crappy. And I'm going to say the reason Crappy got this was 2 very clutch sound barriers at exactly the right time on Hanamura, as well as, I guess, just doing him. It's
Well, I think the other
he
thing,
did a great job.
the other thing I think we're seeing here is Crappy has been taking a bit more of a strategic role within the team there because he's willing to kind of call the sound barrier and make something happen with it. A lot of Lucios just go, okay, Captain said we're going to go and fight, I will sound barrier so we can go into the fight. Or we're about to die, I'm going to sound barrier to save the team. It is a much different thing to be the Lucio and say, I have sound barrier up and that gives us an opportunity, let's use it, and have the team go with that decision. That's what we saw in Numbani, and actually Crappy did do that a couple of different times. I'm not going to completely put words in his mouth. I'm not saying he's like really shot calling out and out right now, but certainly he's having a more strategic impact as the Lucio.
Well, he absolutely is the shot caller. I've confirmed that, and let's take a look now into the post-match interview with Dizzy and Crappy.
大家好，我是 Quippy。
好的 ，Dizzy， 今天第一场好像有一点惨了。
So the first map was pretty tough.
大家都没有进入状况嘛，就很
I feel like we all
他
just played
们
quite
主播赛
badly.
评说他觉得你们好像拳王配麦卡利这个阵容有被 MT 压制到是吗？
I feel like your Doomfist composition
不是吧？
kind of
就
failed.
是我们自己没打好而
I
已，
feel like we
每
just
次
didn't
就第一
execute
场比
well.
赛就有一种没睡醒的感觉，是不
It
是？
feels like you didn't wake up yet.
有一点吧，都大
It
家
does
都
feel a
都
bit like that.
再来是我们有注意到在花村的时候，常常你的76，你有发现到
So
都
on
没有
Hanamura
太多人去针对你，你
and
就可以在那
76,
边好好的输出这件
You
事情。
weren't
你有发现
contested too much.
我觉得还好哎，就比较常被追着跑而已啊。
I feel like
所以在你心里
I feel like
被
it
追
was
跑的
contested
层面是
somewhat, but I
比较大
ran
的
away a lot.
对啊，我觉得我一直被追着跑而已。
今天这3场比赛下来，你有觉得哪个队友状况特别好，或哪个队友状况
So who do
比
you
较不
think
稳定吗
did play very well today?
大家都不错啊。
I think everyone
你刚
played
刚是这
well
样讲
today
的吗
overall.？
你刚刚是这样讲的吗？
Is that right?
真的大家都不错。
这大家都不
that's
错，
what I
是不是
said.
真的真的。
好了好了，那我们这边把麦克风交给 Crappy。
我想问一下这个盔皮选手，今天在鲁巴尼的第一段防守的时候，
Numbani
为
first
什么要
defense
选择慈悲这样子的一个套路？
What happened
因为
there?
大
Why
家
did you
知
choose
道
what you
在
chose?
PTR 的慈悲已经被改成女武神了，所以这是有点致敬的感觉。
未雨绸缪
哦，没有啦，
那种
不是啊，是因为其实这个套路是从中国联赛那边
So
学
it's something
到的
we've
就是
practiced
老干
against
爹他们
Chinese
是这样
teams.
出的。
哦
那
所以
其实它是好用的，只是因为刚刚我们打的时候出了一些状况，
So I
然
feel
后
like
我们的
we
第一步做
what we
错
were trying to
所以
do
导致就
on
是
paper
一
is
整串
fine,
直接
but we didn't execute
所以看
properly.
起来
We
是
just
没效
didn't
果
play。
因
well.
为你们的训练时间不是那么长的
So
原
it
因，
feels like maybe you were under
练习
practice
这个战术体系的
for the new
这个
meta?
时间点。
应该不是这个问题，应该就是 Hehe 在累。
I feel like
因为
actually
那个
he
时候
was a bit
Hehe
tired.
直接就说吃，可是那个时间点其实应该不是要吃那个地方。
So
对
I feel like
吃错
he might have made some
第二个
mistakes
问
with the
题是
matrix.
这一个我自己个人比较想知道，就是拳王现在这个 meta 里面啊是非常凶悍
In the
非常
Doomfist
凶猛
meta,
那他
Doomfist
有点
plays
看
a
不
lot,
到
obviously.
路西欧这只角色，那你是专精玩路西欧这只角色的一个玩家，我想在未来的
So you're the
应对
Lucio
方式
player.
还是你个人打法上面会不会做一些改变？
So
会
what-
不会变得没有以前那么的调
Do
皮
you？feel like there's still more changes yet to
拳王
happen
这角
for
真
your
的
team?
是完全就是来打爆路西欧，而尤其是本来的主流 meta 是打远近阵来说，路西欧一定会站在 双射手的前面，所以拳王只要过来，基本上那
So
东
I
西
feel like I get contested a lot
很难
by
打
the
也很难
Doomfist.
躲的。
It's actually very
对，
difficult
所
for
以
me to
所以
play
现在
against.
其
It's
实
very
变成
different
是
to
大
other
家
metas as a player in the
你
Doomfist.
看国际上也不是国际上，就是韩国他们比赛也开始有出比较多，就是牛仔拳王这样子。
And actually,
因为
the
牛仔
Korean
至少
scene is
是有
playing a lot of
拳王
McCree
带这种东
Doomfist.
西，它可以去 counter 拳王。对，所
I
以
feel like the McCree does a
可
good
能
job
不会
of
从
countering
我
the
个
Doomfist.
人上训练去改变，因为那个东西其实在混战里面太难避免了，所以可能会从阵型的编排上去改一下。对
OK，
So
最
I
后
feel
的
like
问
maybe
题
we'll
是
still take
在
a look at that.
一样是鲁巴尼这张地图，你在担任榜首，你是在加时赛拿出托比昂这支角色，
So you
在
play
最后
Torbjorn
面的
and
一个
Numbani?
进攻时间里面，其实你最后将炮台是盖在右下角这个通道，那反而不是盖在平台，
So
或是
you
盖在
you
比较
started
后
your
段的
turret
位
on the
置
bottom
到底
instead of the
是
top.
为什么样一个原因？
因为那波其实是因为我是完整的状态，然后对面是全部清空没有视野的状态，然后
So I feel like
因为通常这种时候我就会把炮台放在一个对面有踩
想偷袭就对了
对，因为他有踩点的压力，他如果
I feel like I
出来
wanted to
没有
pressure
注意
the
到
cat
那
a
个
little
炮
bit
台
more.
光一出来，不知道
And you
哪
can
里
do
在
that
打他就
with
回
the
收
turret
掉
on the
掉
ground
好
rather
所
than
以
turret
就是因
on
为
top
时
of the
间
barrel.
压力，所以我就把炮台放在那。
好的，好的，谢谢 Rapy， 今天表现的是非常漂亮。
是的，还是恭喜 HQ 获得这一场比赛胜利。那我们休息一下，稍后最后一
So
场比
there
赛
it
马上
is,
就要
the
回来喽。
post-match interview from AHQ. Couple of things still to iron out for this team.
Absolutely.
They do get the win at the end of the day. Now, the one big still interesting thing is they specifically mention Apudo's Doomfist as something they were looking out for, but we pretty much didn't see it at all.
Yeah, that was notable, I would say. But at the same time, Mega Thunder weren't struggling without the Doomfist. Indeed, their DPS was doing pretty well all
three of
across
them.
the board. Yeah, all three of them.
All four of them, to
There
be
was
honest.
a couple
Four
of
of them
moments
played
where Apudo was struggling a little on the Genji, but then started to kind of come into his own again later on down the line. But with that win now, AHQ, and to my mind, this is quite a significant thing. They're keeping in line with Blank right now in terms of the score. Those two teams are currently tied for third in the standings, and I think that's important because indeed, both teams kind of want that head-to-head match to be the decider of third and fourth. And as far as AHQ are concerned, Blank are the team that knocked them out of playoffs.
Exactly.
Blank are the team that robbed them of their chance to take on their rivals Flash Wolves in the Season 1 finals. AHQ are going to come back to that series out for blood, out for vengeance. And that vengeance will mean so much more if it also bumps Blank into fourth place.
I'm definitely looking forward to that one because that's going to be the penultimate match for AHQ. But before we even get there, we have one more match this evening. It's going to be between Machi Esports and Flash Wolves, and that's all going to happen after a break. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you.